We are going to go ahead and get started. We had our executive session and our study session already tonight. First thing we need to do is roll call and then a pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Jason Olive.
Here.
Barb Austin.
Here.
Joel Ward.
Here.
Kurt Lord.
Here.
Patrick Serrano.
Here.
Thank you. Could we all do the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. All right, welcome, and welcome to those folks that couldn't get in and may be watching in the training room. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the November 15th board meeting. Could I get a motion?
Mr. President, I move to approve the minutes of the November 15th, 2023 regular board meeting.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please?
I will second.
All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes of the previous board meeting as presented, please say aye.
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 All right, thank you. Next, we need to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable vouchers. Could I get a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move to approve and ratify payroll and accounts payable vouchers.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Will second.
All those in favor of approving and ratifying payroll and accounts payable vouchers, please say aye.
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 All right. Correspondence. Mr. Narducci, is there any correspondence tonight?
President Olive, there is no correspondence at this time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Narducci, that brings us to your Chandler School boosters.
No.
We can't hear you. That one was working earlier.
Superintendent Narducci, governing board members, the Chandler School Boosters is here because they had a debit card, and it is the boosters debit card that contributes back to the school boosters, and it's one of a kind, and very few districts, if any at all, actually do it. And because of this debit card that the public can sign up for to get a portion of the proceeds go back to the Chandler School Boosters, and $500 was donated to the Chandler Boosters in the last few months. And so I have the Boosters president, Ami Valenzuela, here to speak more about it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to all of you this evening, and as well as our beloved Greater Chandler community. My name is Ami Valenzuela Altamari. I am the president of the Chandler School Boosters. I'm in my 6th year, but I am a legacy PTO president. I had a mother who was in the Tempe School District, and those memories just followed me, and I wanted to serve. I want to, before we present this great announcement that we have for the greater community and to present to you, our beloved board, I want to first share who we are. We are your lesser known, third nonprofit that has partnered with the CUSD for many years. We are in our 11th year. So if you didn't know about us, here we are. And we are very proud to say we're coming out to let you know more about us, and you're going to be hearing a lot about us. We represent right now over 170 PTOs and booster clubs in our district alone. And we've been working on a few things these last 3 years that are making some history. I want to go into our mission statement just so we can reacquaint. Some of you may know about us, but I wanted to let you know that Chandler School Boosters is a student support organization which raises money for educational, extracurricular, and other school purposes to benefit students attending school in the Chandler Unified School District. The activities of the Chandler School Boosters focuses on enriching the overall educational experience of students in the school district in a variety of ways. Basically, we want to allow our staff of CUSD to focus on truly what we need them to do and what they have gone into their careers to do, and that is educate our children, coach our children, support and sponsor all those interests that our children have. Moving into, although we started 11 years ago and our famous school board member Joe Worth. He was part of the inception of this organization, as well as our previous superintendent, Camille Castile, as well as Lisa Knox, who has since retired. I want to give credit to those who came before me and before our board. We are now, when we started, we were a grassroots working board, no staff. Today, like I said, we are doing some light governance and teaching and training over 173 boosters and PTOs, which are made up of a lot of our hardworking parents, probably some of our most dedicated parents who probably have a job outside. They want to see our programs last, and it's free labor, basically. It is a fundraising arm to CUSD. We just want to make sure that we're all doing it in the most correct way, in the most legal way, and also that they have all the training to be great leaders of all the schools and in all their endeavors, because they also have a part in community events. I do want to say thank you to Lana Berry, who heads up our CFO and our business office. She has partnered with us and always been such a great support and given us a lot of support through the years. But without further ado, before we get on to a very big partnership that we've made, I want to introduce my fellow board member. She's been on here longer than me, Michelle Dexter, who serves as our secretary, as she's going to tell you a little bit how we came to this partnership. The history is really important, who we are is really important, but this is really necessary information for you to know how far we've come and where we're going. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Michelle Dexter. This is my 15th year being a CUSD parent, and I thought I had my math right on how many years I had been on the CSB board, but apparently it's more than I thought. The Chandler School Boosters has really come a long way since its inception. We were tasked with finding a system that assisted with the transactions between boards from year to year, that streamlined the tax filings for all of the 501c3s that fall within Chandler School Boosters. By the way, we're now over 170 groups, and provided Chandler School Boosters with better oversight of the financials of individual groups. We initially worked with a nationwide bank that helped us to have all member bank accounts with one bank. This was a good first step, but as we identified issues related to the access to funds, transferring ownership of accounts, and integration with software, we discovered that Chandler School Boosters would need more than just having all of the accounts at one bank. As a board, and thanks to the leadership of James Joan and Lisa Knox, among others, a request for proposal was prepared so that we could solicit bids from numerous banks to provide the services we sought at a competitive price. What we learned is that this is neither common nor is it a project many banks are willing to invest in. Some banks simply didn't submit a bid, unable to provide the services we needed. Others provided incomplete services or costs that did not best serve our member groups. We were thankful that MidFirst Bank was willing to work with us to create the type of accounts that allowed our member groups independence, while giving Chandler School Boosters not only the ability to collect the data we needed for taxes, but also allows the director of Chandler School Boosters to step in during emergency cases to do its best for the schools and the students. We've been using MidFirst system for 2 years now. They've continued to support us as a customer by working with the software to simplify the accounting process for our groups. They've given us a volunteer board member. Thank you, David. And now they've shown their support as a community with the Cause Card. To tell you more about Chandler School Booster Cause Card, I'm happy to introduce fellow Chandler School Booster board member and volunteer, David Melgoza with MidFirst Bank.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening, and I'll make this short and sweet. The Cause Card is a program that we created that's specific for Chandler School Booster. There is no other program in Arizona at any other school district that we have expanded this to. We are, as MidFirst Bank, we are small enough to compete with the big, small enough to provide that personal one-to-one service, but at the same time, we're big enough to compete with the big banks. And it gives us the opportunity to modify, adjust, and create things that other banks weren't allowed to do, such as the accounting program and the ability to move accounts around as we needed, or signers and so forth. In this partnership, that we are truly grateful for, we wanted to be able to give back as well. So that's what we did, is we expanded our program to the Cause Card. The Cause Card, the way it works, it is a debit card, not a credit card. It is a debit card that is available for any checking account within MidFirst Bank. There is no additional cost to the consumer. It is absolutely free. And the way it works is after using your debit card 6 times in a month, from that point on, any swipe, MidFirst donates 5 cents of that revenue back to Chandler School Booster. 5 cents. Doesn't sound like a whole lot. However, the average customer uses their debit card about 30 times a month. Me, probably 40 or 50. Okay? So with an average of 30 times a month, we're talking about 24 swipes that would generate revenue, or $1.20 per person. If you have 500 cards or 500 people out there, we're talking about $600 in revenue going back to Chandler School Booster. Double that to 1,000. You're talking about $1,200 and so on. This isn't just 1 month, but it's every month this customer uses their debit card continuously. There is no end to this at this point. With over 20,000 kids in your school district, along with those parents, we're talking about wonderful potential or opportunity to raise some funds. This partnership, we've created the pop-up banners. We have buck slips that we've created to be able to share the benefits. And you'll also see that in our banking centers, the placemat actually has Chandler School Booster card as the primary card on this, that when we offer our debit cards to our customers. So we are in it to try and help. We really are invested in the benefit of the school and benefit of being a partner and really raising these funds back for the kids. So again, there is no other school district in Arizona that has this. In fact, the only other 2 cause cards that we have active right now is the Susan B. Komen Breast Cancer Society and Arizona Heart Association, and now Chandler School Booster. So you are exclusive. We are doing this to try and help. We are here to assist and be a partner with the Chandler School. And it's open to anyone, not just, you don't have to be just a member of a board or anything. This is for any personal account, anybody who wants to participate and support. Grandparents, moms, dads, anybody in the neighborhood that want to participate, they can come down, open an account, and we can get them a Chandler School Booster debit card. So that's how we have this for you. Any questions?
Ms. Rona.
Yeah, I was just wondering, thank you for this wonderful, informative presentation. But I was wondering, with this rate of, per se, $600 per month, how does that get distributed amongst the, I think you mentioned 170 PTOs and boosters? So once that revenue comes in, what does the distribution process look like amongst all of the involved PTOs and boosters?
Well, one of the things I didn't get to tell you, after we became a grassroots board, we finally had paid staff. Right now, we are at 3 part-time staff. That includes 2 admins. And one of those part-time staff is the director of finance right now in the business office as we look for another executive director. So with that, because we started at just a little over 70 organizations 11 years ago, and we've grown to 170. We need to pay some staff. That's one of the plans. We also are a membership organization on a cost share basis. We've called it pro rata before, but it's more of a cost share. Our members pay a percentage of their revenue from the previous year that they've earned into, because we also partner out with a tax firm that does our taxes. And we have to pay hourly salaries of 2 part-time, very part-time admins. So first off, it's going to that. It also is to bring down the cost share amount. And then in the future, I mean, we have big plans to get more corporate sponsorships. We'd love this membership to be a 0 membership. But it has been on the backs of the PTOs and boosters that have sustained this organization, to be able to bring to them also our Run PTO, which is our online platform technology program to allow them to plan events, create websites, and we're working with that CEO, and we are the only one in the country doing that right now. That also was the other partnership that came on, but today's focus was on the cause card.
If you don't mind, I'll add to that. So that was
Yes,
a great
please.
question.
Thank
If
you,
that's
Anna.
okay. So first off, I just want to say thank you so much, all of you, for not only volunteering and really being leaders in our organization, but for caring about kids in CUSD. So appreciate that, and thank you, David, for coming tonight from MidFirst and also being on our board. But Patty, one of the great questions, that's a great question that you have. We have tasked this board and people that are supporting it to be self-sustained. They need to be able to sustain what they're doing, and we do prepare a tax return for all 170. Like she said, there's a platform. We have to use a software system. We have a banking system. There's a lot of things that goes into running a nonprofit because it is an actual nonprofit. And right now, our organizations, PTOs and boosters, fund that piece. And so one thing that they're tasked with is bringing in additional revenue to support that entity. As we know, it still costs money to run nonprofits. We wish it was zero, but it's not. So this is one of those revenue pieces that they've brought forward that's pretty neat and innovative, especially for booster organizations to help fund our nonprofit. So it would ultimately, the funds from this would help fund the overall costs of the organization of that nonprofit.
Any additional questions?
Anybody else?
No, I just have one more praise and support. Thank you very much, all of you. You've been in the district for a long time. This is hard work, and you make it look easier than it and make it sound easier tonight. But this is 170 businesses basically that operate as fundraisers at schools, but also as culture building programs at schools, carnivals, different events that happen. And you have a branch of parents that help at every single site, our high school boosters. The money that you raise goes right back to student programming, and the program wouldn't even exist if we didn't have strong boosters like you. I just want to applaud your efforts, David. I want to thank you for bringing corporate sponsorship in to be able to raise more money, to be able to help us do this more efficiently as well. But behind you stand so many parents that just need to be thanked from every one of our schools, every volunteer, grandparents that come into that help assist run the programming, and that are a bigger part of that extra piece that we give all of our students through extracurriculars. So thank you so much. We do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us tonight, Superintendent.
I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you for coming, guys. That was wonderful. Next, we're going to get into, I'm sorry, lost my place. Student Body President, thank you. Brooklyn Tallman is going to tell us what's going on at Hamilton High School.
Good evening, President Olive, Superintendent Narducci, board members, and the entirety of CUSD. My name is Brooklyn Tallman, and I am the Student Body President at Hamilton High School. I am so honored to have the opportunity to present some of the great things that have happened within the Hamilton community. We have hosted many spectacular events throughout the first semester, and we are so excited to make the rest of the year great. To start off, we welcomed our incoming high school students at freshman orientation. This event was hosted by Hamilton Link Crew to introduce the future Huskies to our school, our teachers, and most importantly, each other. Principal De La Torre and Assistant Principal Bano introduced students to the history of Hamilton and what their next 4 years are going to look like. Next up, the club fair. Students shared their passions through different clubs at Hamilton. It gave students that were not already involved in clubs a chance to see what our school has to offer. These clubs include Guitar Club, Red Cross, Leo Club, Husky Pack, and even Mountain Biking Club. This was such a fun gathering for all of our Huskies to participate in. Our senior sunrise took place in August. Seniors gathered on the football field to write letters to our future selves, gather with friends, and embrace the start of our last year. This was such an amazing bonding experience for every senior involved, and we could not wait to finish out the year strong. Now for our biggest event of the semester, an Escape to Rio homecoming. We had such a fun time planning the events that led up to our dance. On Thursday, we had our homecoming carnival. Booths and inflatables were set up across the football field for all students to enjoy. We had food trucks, games, a dunk tank, and most importantly, an inflatable bull. That next morning, we had our annual homecoming assembly. We had performances from the Hamilton Dance Company, the Vibe Team, choir, and the Varsity Pom Line. Principal De La Torre and Mr. Bano led our homecoming parade on their Harleys, and we introduced all of our wonderful homecoming nominees. On that same night, we had our homecoming football game. The student section was filled with our theme of costumes. We played against Red Mountain and brought home the win, 49-28. Although we didn't make it all the way to state, it was a great way to watch our Huskies create memories during homecoming. Saturday night was the big homecoming dance. We had photo booths, a DJ, and even some exotic birds to bring the Rio theme to life. We had so much help from so many amazing people and organizations, and we could not be more thankful. Hamilton is so excited to put on such a great event and cannot wait to make next year even better. As you all may know, Hamilton has such an incredible athletic program, and I could not be more proud to share them all with you today. This year, we had many accomplishments in our fall sports. Samia Banankar won the state individual title in badminton, making that her second during her time at Hamilton. A huge congratulations to boys golf for winning the state championship. They have worked hard individually and most importantly, as a team. There is truly no group of people more deserving. Moving on to girls golf, Angela Chen brought home the state individual title. She competed in the two-day tournament and earned the best girls golfer in the state of Arizona for 2023. We are so proud of our Lady Huskies team. This November, we had signing day for our Husky athletes where they committed to their colleges. We had many different colleges ranging from the University of Arizona all the way to Harvard. Families and friends joined these incredible students to support them for how far they've come. A big congratulations to all of our hardworking Huskies. Along with our athletic program, Hamilton has a fantastic academic program, and I am excited to share about one of our amazing organizations. The robotics team was offered a $5,000 STEM grant from the Arizona Diamondbacks Community Impact Department and their partners at Waymo. We are so excited to see what kind of projects the team takes on next. Now it is time to introduce the amazing council. We have worked so hard to put on these events and create a fun atmosphere for the students at Hamilton. I could not have asked for a brighter group of people to help make the council a working team. First, we have my Vice President and Spirit Coordinator, Ava Stewart. Treasurer, Isla Rodriguez. Secretary and Fundraising Manager, Hannah Patrick. Publicity Manager, Reynard Gahn. And Social Media Coordinator, Melanie Sandoval. Next, our class presidents. Senior Class President, Greenlee Jeffson. Junior Class President, Lisha De Leon. Sophomore Class President, Guy Becker. And Freshman Class President, Jack Rowland. Last but not least, our representatives. Senior Representatives, Callista Brandall, Sydney Reddish, Arushi Gorisetti, and Emily Ranstorp. Junior Representative, Riley Wiggins. Sophomore Representatives, Cole Blubaum, Ike Isan, Dia Vesanth, Aaliyah Atula, Kiara Lewis, and Shanu Katari. Finally, freshman representatives, Caitlin Tallman, Andrew Wynn, Karime Rincon, and Deanna Chavez. That's everything we have going on at Hamilton. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you soon.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Next, we get to our new administrator introductions. Mr. Nodici.
Thank you, President Olive. As the board had requested, introducing some of our newer administrators that we've hired over the year, we went on a little break during the pandemic of not doing this, and we brought it back last meeting. We'll continue on to the next few meetings till we catch up. But I'd like to introduce our community as well as the governing board to Ms. Natasha Davis. Natasha, are you in the room? There you are. Natasha Davis. I haven't even said anything about you, and they're still clapping. This is great. I like this. Let's continue this as we go through the night. Natasha Davis is an Arizona transplant from New Jersey, where she was a special education teacher and school social worker. For the last few years with CUSD, she served as the district social worker and prevention coordinator before becoming the director of counseling and social services. She completed her bachelor's degree in human development from Virginia Tech and her master's in social work from Boston University. Natasha also completed her second master's in educational leadership from Northern Arizona University. It is her hope to continue to destigmatize mental illness, raise awareness, and spark conversations about wellness. And we are so happy that Natasha's been here and leading many of our efforts, including our counselors and social workers and prevention efforts. So thank you, Natasha, and I'll give you a couple of seconds here to talk to the board.
Oh, he's got to get your mic on.
How about now?
There you go.
Okay. Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Narducci, I believe I'm supposed to introduce who I'm with. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
But before I do that, I just want to thank each and every one of these leaders sitting up here for being incredibly supportive of my transition. I wouldn't have been able to do this role without your guidance, your commitment, and your constant encouragement. I appreciate all of you. I often say we move mountains by carrying small stones, but I really, truly think we've just moved mountains this year, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without you guys. Tonight, I brought me, myself, and I, but my parents are watching. They just retired from New Jersey up to Prescott, so hi, Mom and Dad.
That's great.
Thank you.
Love it. Mom and Dad, if you're watching, she is doing a fantastic job, and everybody in this room and everybody in the training room is clapping for her right now. You see, you just made two people very happy. That is awesome. I'd also like to introduce you to Dr. Kevin Mendeville. Dr. Mendeville knew early on, is Dr. Mendeville in the room? Here he is, right here. Dr. Mendeville knew early on that he wanted to be a special education teacher and taught for 13 years as such in a variety of specialty areas with the Gilbert and Mesa school districts. He spent 20 years in Mesa where he served the Holmes Elementary School community as principal, followed by becoming the director of certified personnel. In 2011, he joined the Tempe Union High School District, where he held multiple roles, including Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Associate Superintendent, and Superintendent. He tells us he feels privileged to return to his roots of elementary education as the very proud principal of Auxerre Elementary School. He says he will always prioritize the students in his care, no matter what position he may have served, and that as educators, we must ensure our children are safe, our families are welcomed, our students are learning a lot, and that they are making long-term friends while they're with us. Kevin, we're very fortunate that you're continuing your service in Chandler Unified School District, and we're very proud to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Am I supposed to say something? I guess I will. President, members of the board, Superintendent Narducci, I couldn't be more thrilled than to be a part of this organization. You have a wonderful leader in Superintendent Narducci, and the entire staff. My day one entering this district has been received with such professionalism, kindness, and I've been welcomed. And the resources and support that the school district provides to its new employees, and I feel like I'm one of the newest employees, is tremendous. So kudos to all the departments and all the work that everyone does to make this organization truly the premier district of the state of Arizona. I can say that now after being here for 3 or 4 months now. So I'm very proud to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mendeville. Appreciate you very much. Our next employee that has been an employee with us a while, but I'd like to recognize Dr. Corey Brenner. It's Dr. Corey Brenner. There she is. Dr. Corey Brenner is an esteemed and experienced educator in her 29th year of serving in the field of public education. Her journey began as a teacher specializing in both elementary education and special education, where she spent 12 transformative years in the classroom. She later earned a master's degree in curriculum and instruction and K-12 administration. She's nationally board certified and a doctorate in educational administration. For the past 10 years, Dr. Brenner served the Chandler Unified School District as Shumway Leadership Academy as their principal. Through her outstanding leadership, she led the Shumway Leadership Academy community to be recognized as a Title I Distinguished School on more than one occasion and recognized as an Arizona Education Foundation A+ School of Excellence. Dr. Brenner is excited to begin the next chapter in her professional career as a director of federal programs and state initiatives in the Chandler Unified School District, and we're so fortunate to have seen Dr. Brenner move through these roles and finally landing in an area here where her expertise is going to move us forward. Welcome, Dr. Brenner.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Narducci. It has been truly my honor to serve the Chandler Unified School District for just over 10 years. Several of you were on this dais when I was here many years ago, right? And I just appreciate your faith in me. I have a passion for our federal programs and what we do, and I have been a lifelong learner, and this opportunity has presented itself. Opportunity for growth and to work with several new departments and to learn more about our secondary schools, and I have enjoyed these last 4 months. It's definitely different, but I'm so appreciative of your faith in me and your confidence in what we're able to do as a department for our students and our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brenner. Our last employee that I'd like to recognize is, what's that? Oh, Corey, do you have people to introduce here? Sorry, I'll let you go too fast.
No, it's because this is my third time in front of the board for different positions, and I've never been fortunate to have them here before, but they surprised me today and showed up. Not that they neglected to come last time. They were, just. So I do have my daughter, Elena, and her boyfriend, Jake.
Elena, can you wave? There
She's
you are.
my mini-me, so usually if you see us walking together, you automatically know. Her boyfriend, Jake, is a member of our family for the past 6 years.
Hi, Jake.
And our son, Alex. And his girlfriend, Taryn. And my husband is in Mexico for work, so he's here in spirit.
There you go. You can let him know that he can stream this later. He can come back and see it. So thank you guys for being here, and thanks for the support for your mama. That's awesome. Our next employee I'd like to recognize is Patricia Fernandez. Patricia Fernandez is a bilingual educator with roots in, there she is, and she was already in our study session before, so thank you for prepping that as well. A bilingual education with roots in Peru. Started her career in early childhood education, developing a love for teaching and learning. Patty holds a bachelor's degree in multilingual and multicultural elementary education from Arizona State University, accompanied by a master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Grand Canyon University, and a second master's in educational leadership from Arizona State University. Over the past decade, Patty has gained recognition as an expert in dual language programs, showcasing her steadfast commitment to educational excellence. In her previous role as math coach, world language, and dual language district specialist, Patty led various projects, including curriculum adoptions, revisions, and provided support for different initiatives in the Kyrene School District and Mesa School District. She has worked closely with teachers, families, and leaders to enhance student academic achievement. Now assuming the role of Assistant Director of Curriculum and Instruction, she is dedicated to advancing academic achievement for CUSD students and nurturing a community of multilingual global citizens. And it's proud that we were able to bring you on board this year, and finally, after you did some staff development with us, we were like going, let's go after the best, and I'm so glad you joined us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Narducci. President of the board, members of the board, thank you for this opportunity, and I want to thank Dr. Gilbert, Dr. Edgar, for giving me the opportunity to become part of this family. I feel like my path with Chandler has always started actually when I did my first master's with the Chandler cohort, and I was the only one outside of the district that was part of that. And every step of my journey since Peru, I feel it has prepared me to be here. And the first thing that I made the comment to Dr. Edgar at the beginning, the welcome that you did for us was welcoming us home. And that's how I feel. I want to say thank you to the IRC team because they have made me feel welcome from day one. And I love coming to work every day and work with such a great team. So thank you. And I hear my mom came from Jersey. So I am from Peru, but lived in Jersey. And my mom is here with me. And my first dual language partner teacher. Yes. And also my first dual language partner teacher is here with me. We taught together in 2010. So, and Juan, who's been my partner for all these years, helping me overcome so many obstacles and being there every step of the way. So thank you, everyone, for your support.
Thank you, and thank you for the parents and friends and and kids that came to support their parents, because I know they give us much time. And when we say welcome home, we don't mean that we're taking them away from your home, but we want Chandler to feel like a home for our employees, all 5,200, because they spend a lot of time, and you're like our extended family. And so, again, we mean it when we say welcome home. So again, thank you. We have a dynamic group that we've added, and we'll add another dynamic group next board meeting. So thanks again. I'm going to congratulate our hiring individuals in HR for getting such wonderful people. So thank you very much. Back over to you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next, we get to hear our public hearing for the revised 2023-2024 budget. Mrs. Berry is going to take us through that.
Well, good evening, Mr. President, members of the board and audience. This is our
Hang on a second. We got to get a mic working for you.
All right, it's on. All right, I'll start all over. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board and audience. This is our public hearing for our revision to our annual expenditure budget for fiscal year 23-24. As you know, we are a fiscal entity that operates July 1st through June 30th. We actually start our budget process about 6 months before July, and then our board actually approves a proposed budget in June. It has to be published for 10 days. Our board then adopts that budget in July, and this is our first chance to revise it. We have to revise by December 15th, and then we have the ability to revise it as many times as we want up until May 15th of this fiscal year of 23-24. At the same time, we're already starting with the budget for next year. We're not discussing that tonight, but we are actually in the process of starting already our budget for fiscal year 24-25. So we have two, in a sense, abilities to work with our staff and the community, not only on this year's budget as we present to you on a revised budget, but really we start on the process for next fiscal year. We use this budget to start the next year's, but it is really important, again, to revise it to make sure that we're accurately reflecting each of our funds in our school district, and that we've budgeted according to how we're going to spend for the rest of the fiscal year. So a couple changes. It's very minimal this fiscal year, but I'm going to review a few changes to the maintenance and operations budget, which is our major budget that funds salaries and benefits. About 90% of the funds in maintenance and operations go to salaries and benefits. The other portion goes to utilities, transportation costs, supplies, things like that. The next budget we'll talk about is our unrestricted budget. That funds mostly our White Fleet, technology, our textbooks. We'll go over the changes after, especially because of our annual financial report, which we reported in October, some of those changes that are reflected now in our revised budget. The Classroom Site Fund is a fund that funds our teachers. It specifically gets paid out majority of it goes to contracts for teachers. That was passed in 2001, where our governor approved with our chambers and our business communities and the voters approved a Prop 301, which ultimately funds a big portion of our teacher contracts, and then also provides for professional development and performance pay for our certified staff too. So slight changes in that. And then our federal and state budgets and projects that are listed, there was a few changes with that. As we wrapped up last year, some of those changes, and as we applied for grants, as we didn't receive some of those, we've taken that out, or changes of carryover that came through after we finished last year's budget. And then our last group, which is called other funds, is all of our cash funds that are out there. And as you know, we have a robust community education program. We rent our facilities. We have a number of tax credits and student auxiliary funds. All of those are in our cash funds, and so there are some slight changes to that also. So to start, the first one is our revision to our Maintenance and Operations Fund. Again, our largest fund in our school district. The major change is based on our average daily membership, and you hear ADM. So our school district is funded based on the number of students who come to our school district, and really the number of miles driven by our buses. That's how we get the majority of our funding in our school district for maintenance and operation. So we're on what's called current year funding. We're based on the number of students who are coming to our school today based on day 1 through day 100. So even though we have around 43,000 students who come to our school district, we're funded at about 41,000, as you can see, 705 students. Now you would think that we'd be funded for 43,000, but our kindergarten students only get funded at half. And then if a student, for example, only comes on day 10, but stays through day 100, we only get 90% funding for that student. If a student shows up the first day, but leaves on day 50, we're gonna get 50% funding for that child. Now, we could have a child who shows up after day 100 and stays the rest of the year, and we'll get 0 funding for that child. So ADM is average daily membership, and we're funded based on day 1 through 100, based on those enrolled students who come to our district. For us, we originally had a projection, because we have to project how many students we had. We had a projection originally when we put in that we had 41,000. We thought was going to be, last year was 41,905, and we projected we were going to be at 41,705 students. So we thought we were going to reduce our ADM by 200. We use an outside demographer, as you guys have been here for presentations from Rick Bramer with Applied Economics. He's been doing our demographic studies for about 2 to 3 decades now. We thought we'd lose approximately 200 students based on our build out of our school district, which is 80 square miles, the step up market in our real estate, the low birth rates, and then our competition. But we did have additional things come across our state as for example, as ESAs, which are empowerment scholarship accounts, became available. We did see a change this year in our ADM overall based on some of those things too. So we did see a drop when we compared to our adopted budget of 41,705 students. We now have 41,074 students, so an additional 631 ADM, average daily membership. Again, that's larger than what our actual enrollment is. So our overall decrease in our from our adopted budget to a revised budget, our adopted budget was $246 million approximately. Our revised ADM budget for revision number 1, around $242 million. So it's a difference of $3,620,909 overall. So our drop in ADM from last year to this year for average daily membership is 831. We also get funded for special education in our school district. And as you know, we have a variety of special education programs throughout our 44 schools. We also get funded for our kindergartners to 3rd grade. There's a funding source for that, and reading. You can see the largest number when you look at that. You see that we have 9,000, for example, 124 students that we thought in our K through 3. We actually had 8,857 this fiscal year. We don't get a lot of extra money for that, but that is our biggest area. And I think, Mrs. Serrano, you asked a very good question this week because we had adjusted our K3 budget, partly because we have less money coming in those categories, and so then when we shifted out to our regular maintenance and operation versus funding in that K3. So a very good question this week you asked about specifically on our budget. But ultimately, these are the different funding sources for special education. There was a decrease in that overall. The overall ADM, some special education students get a larger weight because it costs more to serve that particular need. It might need a paraprofessional or a speech pathologist or a physical therapist, things like that, so they're weighted. Again, that's set by statute. Those changes were about 451 ADM, and overall, when you can see the increases and decreases based on weight, some were higher. We had more, for example, in this category than we predicted. Again, it's based on current year funding and the students that are enrolled in our district. So the overall difference between each of those categories was $45,000.
Before you move on,
yes.
Almost all of that loss on the SPED side was K through 3 and K through 2 reading. Actually, it's the same number. Why is that?
So our K through 3 and K through 3 reading, so ultimately it's based on the number of students enrolled in our district. So as the K through 3 students, less come into our district. As you know, our kindergarten class has become smaller and smaller every single year based on birth rates, build
so
out all
those
those things.
K through 3 enrollment.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, and we get an extra weight for that, for K through 3, for regular K through 3 and K through 3 reading. And we have budgets then associated with that. Good question. All right, so overall, there is a decrease. The total decrease is, you can see in the middle, for the total decrease is $3,756,240,000. And again, it's based on the two things, the loss of ADM and then the decrease in our SPED student weight counts. So overall, we adopted a budget that you can see for $292,644,000 on the revenue control limit. There was a decrease of about $3.7 million. Our new revised budget in the revenue control limit is $288 million. So overall, there's other factors that are considered when you are to look at our overall maintenance and operations budget. If you were actually to pull up the long forms of our budget here, you'll see that our overall budget, you can refer to a number of pages, but this summarizes our maintenance and operations. Our revenue control limit dropped by $3.7 million, but we had a carryover balance that actually increased by $2.9 million. So overall, after we finished our annual financial report, which finishes in October, and then we finalize that, then we have the ability in December to adjust for any of those additional amounts. So we had an additional amount, a carryover of $2,907,000, and ultimately that gets carried over into fiscal year 23-24. It's one-time money, not ongoing, but ultimately we did have an increase in that. Prop 123. So in 2016, Governor Ducey put out to the voters the ability to vote to settle a lawsuit related to school finance. And during that, there is a piece that we get about $75 million that's spread out through all K through 12 education entities. And that allocation, we get approximately almost $3 million every year. The state divides that based on the number of students in public education and charter schools, and then we have to revise that. So ultimately, they send us the new number that was revised, and it's approximately $7,000 less. And the other piece that's, that we have to adjust is the one-time state aid adjustment or supplement. As you know, there was a surplus last year that we talked about when we did the proposed and adopted budget of approximately $300 million. Our district received about $11.7 million of that. That was to help with the inflation costs because with Proposition 123, it did settle a lawsuit, and we either get inflation or 2%, but it's the lower of the two. And as you know, inflation has been a lot higher than that, so we're only guaranteed 2%. And one thing that helped was when we got the one-time state aid, our legislature and governor approved an additional amount to help with that increase in inflation. And so this was given out to staff. We did the stipend that the board approved back in October, and we paid that out to all of our staff members and gave them a 3% one-time payment to help with the inflation costs over this past year. So that there's a slight change with that. Again, the Arizona Department of Education divides that $300 million based on the number of students in Arizona, and there's just a slight adjustment to that. And so they send that out to us, and that adjustment was $28,000. So if you add all those amounts up, there's an adjustment tonight compared to the adopted budget that you approved back in July of $853,394 to the maintenance and operations budget. The next fund is our unrestricted capital budget. Again, that is something we use to fund our white fleet, our technology, and also our textbooks. And then we also give out an allocation to our schools for furniture and equipment. That's how they replace desks, chairs, physical things in their schools. And ultimately, we had, it's called District Additional Assistance now. Our budget was $25,329,000. The revised budget is just slightly different. It's down by $23,845. Again, it's also based on average daily membership, but actually average daily membership from the prior year. So it's not on current year funding, it's on the prior year. So just a slight adjustment based on that. We did have a large carryover balance after October of $8,173,845. That was related to our technology purchase orders that we put in place and the board approved last year. But ultimately, if those items don't come in by June 30th, then you have to roll those purchase orders over to the next fiscal year. So we're rolling those over. As you know, you approved the IFB panels that we put up in all the classrooms and a number of technology orders that we're putting into our classrooms, either related to our devices, software, or the IFB project that we put in place. Also interest, we earn interest in our capital account, and so that has, as you all know, probably from personally in your own bank accounts, interest rates are up right now, and so we received a higher amount on the interest on the amount of cash that's sitting in our unrestricted capital fund, and so that was an increase of $157,000. We're not allowed to keep interest in our maintenance and operations account, but we are in our capital account, and so that is why you see that increase. So overall, the budget increased by $8.3 million, but we do have purchase orders outstanding for the amounts that we did carry over. It's just that we did not receive those by June 30th, so we had to roll that over into this fiscal year. The Classroom Site Fund, as we said, was from Proposition 301 back in 2001. A majority of all of that money goes into teachers' salaries. It was approved back then to increase our teacher salaries here in Arizona. We have a big portion, about a little over $8,000 of each of our teachers' checks. A portion of the amount they have in their contract comes from Prop 301. As you can see, only a slight change in that. Again, it's also based on our average daily membership, so slight change in that of $4,628. We had a budget balance, unexpended slight adjustment of $100,582 compared to the AFR that we published in October. And then also interest earned on that was recorded and was higher. It was $289,000. So the net difference overall is $193,902. The next one is state and federal projects. This is probably our largest changes, and always are every year when we go to revise the budget. We are projecting what we think our federal project allocations will be and our state allocations will be. It's not a large portion of our overall budget, but usually this is kind of where we have the largest changes. In Title III, again, we had a $56,000 difference between what we thought we were going to get and what we are actually getting, so we now are budgeting for that. It's just based on what we predicted we would get and what we actually got. A little bit higher in our India Education Fund. You can see at $40,000. Part B, IDA, we serve special needs children. We get a portion from the federal government for that. And that was just, we predicted that we'd get a little bit more. We're not getting quite as much, so that's a decrease of $529,000. Our Johnson O'Malley is, again, based on our students who are also the same thing as our Indian Education Funds. Both those funds have gone, one went up, one went slightly down. Our E-rate dollars, that's one of our biggest changes. We were hoping to receive Priority 2 funding this year for our infrastructure for E-rate. We actually won't be able to be eligible for that until next year. We were hoping to be eligible this year, but it actually will be one more year before we are eligible.
What's E-rate?
That's for our, E-rate is our library, a universal library program where we receive money for internet, Wi-Fi. So when you pay your tax phone bills, part of the tax that is on that goes to the Universal Libraries Division, and they ultimately then fund schools across Arizona or across the nation through the federal program called E-rate. And ultimately it funds, like I said, internet, Wi-Fi, and then that's the Priority 1 funding. And then our Priority 2 funding is actually the infrastructure that comes into our system that funds the network systems that we have. It's the drops, the cabling, the dark fiber, all of those pieces. So we're not eligible. They've changed the rules on that in the last 10 years. It used to be based on poverty weights, and then you would get a percentage. Now it's based on about $150 per student and then a percentage of your poverty. So it's changed a little bit over the last 10 years. But we aren't eligible for Priority 2. We're only eligible for Priority 1 this year, and then we'll be eligible next year. The other thing, the next one is funds 300 through 399 for federal projects that are outside of Title I. Most of these are related to the COVID funds, or what I call the ARPA funds. Remember, ARPA stands for the American Rescue Plan Act. But there is a change in that. There was some additional funding that has been left over that we applied for. We've been very successful on the extra competitive ARPA grants, but we were not successful on one of the grants we thought we would probably receive. It was for education disparity and teacher development. We didn't get that grant, and so we're making an adjustment to that, along with a little bit of an adjustment on our ESSER funds as we carried that over, finishing our annual financial report. So those are the adjustments to the overall federal projects. On the state side, there was a few adjustments too. As you know, we are the most successful in the entire state related to our CCEIP, which is our college credit by exams. We have the most qualifying students who pass AP exams in the entire state of Arizona, which is extremely impressive. You should go look at that data. It's pretty incredible. I'm always impressed by our Flynn Scholars and our National Merit Scholars and our $190 million worth of scholarships that Chandler Unified puts out. But it's really impressive when you see AP exams. And as a parent of 4 kids, those AP exams help you because when your kids get college credit, take that on, and mom and dad might get out of a semester maybe at the end of helping cover college costs. So our kids are incredibly brilliant, and we're very thankful for all of our schools passing and having great teachers that work with our students on those AP exams. That, as you can see, we had a budget of $1.5 million, $60,000. It just was adjusted to $1,527,000. So slight adjustment on that. Our state projects funds, this is has results-based funding, but it also has our big school safety program in there. We were applying for a school safety grant for additional positions in that, did not get that, so we had to make an adjustment down. We put what our application was, and then we actually adjusted it for what we received from the state. We also were the largest recipient for results-based funding. As you know, again, if you've looked at our test scores, we're so impressed with our schools and how they do. We've received the most. That was results-based funding was changed this year. There's no longer results-based funding. It went into the base, but we do get to carry over those dollars. So we do have some remaining results-based funding that we'll be utilizing over the next 2 years as we use those reserve funds up. So an adjustment of $5.2 million for the federal and state projects funds. And then just the last one, other funds, the only 2 that we made an adjustment to was our English language learners. Again, we turn in data to the state. The state gives us an amount per pupil based on the data. And that was increased by $190,000. And then we had a slight increase in our intergovernment agreements that we have. We have those with other districts or other city entities, and we have a slight increase. It's based on the cash that we bring over from the previous year, and then also based on what we project for revenues for this fiscal year. So a slight adjustment of $290,000 for that. So overall, if you take all of our funding, even though we have around 70 plus different funding sources in our district, our overall change was about $2.7 million based on those 5 categories that I talked about. A number of funds come into each of those categories, but overall, our budget is a $649 million budget, and we made an adjustment, an increase. It's about $652 million now, so that total difference is $2.7 million. All right, are there any questions for me?
You confused me on the ADM loss. Can you review that?
Sure, absolutely.
I thought you said it was like going to be 600 or 700. That threw me off.
So we projected that our ADM loss would be 200 based on our outside demographer and our past experiences, knowing where we were going. Because as you remember, we have a few things that are impacting our school district. We have low birth rates that are not only hitting Chandler Unified and Maricopa, but they're hitting nationally. So we have low birth rates. We know that that's impacting our district. We also know that we're built out in our 80 square miles except for the Val Vista corridor. We know we have a step-up market. And as you know, I think a base starter home that's brand new in our district is around $625,000. So very difficult for a kindergarten family to come in and purchase a home. It's a step-up market now. So we know that our younger age is definitely declining. It's been declining for a decade now, but ultimately that's being impacted. And then we have competition. We have 26 different charters or 11.
How does that impact next year?
We believe, so one of the biggest changes that happened for us is we had a brand new school that opened on our borders. So we had, and we believe that that definitely impacted our school district. And now, last year was the first time that ESAs, Empowerment Scholarships accounts, were available for students, and that has definitely changed. That became available last year. We're definitely see the change this year. Especially when there's seats that are available. There's only so many seats that are at the private school level, but once schools are open, then that gives them the ability to use that for a private school.
So what was the number you project?
So we had, 250 for next year.
No.
We'll start planning for 250 next year.
Just next year?
Nope, this is this year.
I know. Talking about next year. What's the projection?
Additional 250.
But that's so much less than what you told me before.
So we had 831 this fiscal year. So this is the number for this fiscal year, and then we'll start projecting. We're building budgets for 250 for next fiscal year. And that's with using our outside demographer. Unless there's a new school that opens up, there's only so much space within. private schools, public schools, and charter schools for seats, where what was different this year for us is we had a brand new school that opens its doors right on our borders here in Chandler Unified. Does that help answer your question?
Anybody else? All right. Well, great. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to our superintendent current events, I believe.
Great, I'll give it a second for Ms. Ingersoll to get over there. President Olive, members of the board, we have a quick update for you. I'm excited to share the success of our recent CUSD Career and Technical Education Culinary Showdown. 6 high schools went through 2 intensive rounds, and a singular victor emerging from our annual Chopped. If you've seen that on the TV show, we actually go through that same experience with our kids where they're given ingredients 2 minutes before they start and they have to create a meal. This is Chopped CUSD edition. It's a testament to the collaborative spirit of our CTE, which is Career and Technical Education culinary students and their teachers, who work together to create not just dishes, but experiences. Perry High School's culinary students won the prestigious Golden Whisk, and it's actually a trophy that's a whisk on top of it. And please enjoy a little bit of this video, and for you folks in the training room too, just to give you a little experience of what this year's Chopped 2023 looked like.
We're going to be doing the 3rd annual CUSD Chop competition. We're going to have all 6 CUSD high schools competing. It's going to be 2 rounds. There's going to be an entree round, and then there's going to be a dessert round. At the end, everything is tallied up, and then whoever has the most points wins.
I think it's a great experience for the restaurant business and everything. I enjoy doing head chef stuff.
We're very creative, and I'm excited to go in the dessert round.
Great competition. These kids have really been pouring their hearts into these recipes.
I think all the high schools should be proud of themselves. They were just told what their ingredients are 2 minutes before, and they've been really working collaboratively together to put together a wonderful meal. Our culinary department is par none, second to none.
I was also very impressed with the competition outside, the chili and cookies.
We had Culinary 1 students out there planting chilies. There were how many? About 8 or 9 chilies?
Great job. Everyone did a great job.
So if your student is passionate about culinary career or our career and technical education programs in COSD stand out, and during registration, check out our exceptional culinary classes at your high schools. I'd like to thank all of our culinary chefs. I don't even want to call them teachers. They're chefs. They really prepare kids for the future. And but in particular, Chad Faria, Chef Faria, over at Castile High School, who facilitated this year's event, and it went really smoothly, and everybody felt like a winner leaving there. Over the weekend, our Hamilton Palm and team emerged victorious at the Arizona Interscholastic Association competition, claiming the 23-24 Game Day Dance State Championship in their division. Congratulations, Coach Megan Besch and the squad on securing the coveted top spot. We also have teachers that recently earned state or national awards. Megan Driving Hawk of Perry High School is the 2023 Arizona State Art Educator of the Year. Megan wears many hats at Perry High School. She teaches, she does enrichment programs, clubs. She leads a variety of efforts and initiatives on our school campus. And we're so honored to have her on our Team CUSD. This prestigious accolade from the Arizona Art Education Association is a testament to Megan's dedication to quality art education in the state. Also out in our art gallery, our Karen Clark Art Gallery, you'll see some of the pieces that are done by our students here as well. Donna Gustafson from Santan Junior High School is one of 7 educators from Arizona to be named a National History Day Award winner. This accolade extends to teachers from 48 out of the 58 National History Day affiliates across the United States and worldwide. Since August, she has collaborated with peers nationwide and the National History Day staff to enhance her knowledge of teaching with online Library of Congress resources. Upon completion of the series, she will have displayed her ability to share essential strategies for researching, supporting, and presenting historical arguments, all enriched by primary sources held in the Library of Congress. Additionally,
10 of our teachers from our district were awarded a $2,500 grant through the Fiesta Bowl Wishes for Teachers program. This grant aims to fulfill wishes submitted by teachers in various fields, including agricultural studies, art, math, physical education, wellness, science, and special needs. Daryl Gregson from Basha High School, Carrie Mokel from Bogle Junior High School, Suzanne Buffington from Castile High School, Christy Herndon from Chandler High School, Stephanie Likes from Chandler High School, Amy Liu from Freedom Elementary School, Rebecca Crow from Jacobson Elementary School, Michelle Gustafson from Perry High School, Rebecca Bentz from Rice Elementary School, and Eva Boyd Weinberg Gifted Academy, all were award nominees. So we thank them all, and I guess they're going to be spending $2,500 on their students. Did you know CUSD Food and Nutrition produces and ships and serves nearly 30,000 meals every weekday for 50 sites and programs? The newest episode of the Superintendent's Focus video series highlights the CUSD Central Kitchen. Prioritizing development and optimization, the Central Kitchen ensures that it serves as a cornerstone for providing healthy, high-quality, and nutritious meals to students across the district. Let's just take a moment to watch the video of our staff in action.
Hi, today we're going to be going through the Central Kitchen where our food and nutrition department works. Welcome to another episode of the Superintendent's Focus video series. If you'll remember, at the end of last year, we came through here at the start of this construction project. This facility hadn't been touched in over 30 years. You will see that we built better efficiencies, cost-effective measures, as well as increasing the quality of food and cost savings. Can't wait to take you through it.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Howell, Director of Food and Nutrition for the Chandler Unified School District.
Stephanie, last year when we came through here, they were just getting ready to reconstruct this facility, and pretty much it was gutted. So can you walk us through the facility and show us a little bit of what it looks like now?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, so walk this way with me. So over here we have our cook-chill area. So this was always the cook-chill area, but the equipment we have here is equipment you would see in like a commercial kitchen. So you see our team here today, they're making marinara.
So this process, I mean, how much faster is that than what we used to do before? Because I think you do soup, you could do soups here, you could do sauces here, you can do
sauces, hot, cold. Possibilities are endless. We can do, the old days, we would do 1 batch a day, and now we can do up to 2 batches a day, depending on our production schedule. This is my favorite part though. So when it comes out of there, it goes through that pipe right there into this machine that you see right there.
Okay.
And that machine will bag it, seal it, and label it, and then it goes up the conveyor belt into the ice bath. And the ice bath runs between right around 37 degrees, and it can cool that product down from a kettle within an hour. And it cools our product from there, and then we can pull it into the freezer and prepare it to ship it out to sites. The next kind of big production area we have is the bakery. This machine right here, it's called the VMAG. We used to produce 4 batches of muffins a day, and we can produce up to 9 batches of muffins a day now. That's about 10,000 muffins we can do in one day.
And before, this was a 1 muffin at a time process?
So there was a pedal on the floor and a unit thrower, and you take the machine and you, by hand, and you have to pump.
One at a time.
One at a time.
Can you tell me how food service is different in CUSD than other places?
Yes, so I think for me it's this. Like, we're watching muffins being made from scratch. We're not purchasing muffins and bringing them in. We're making our own muffins. I'm going to take you over here in a minute. I'm going to show you the machine that we wrap our muffins with. And then those, they go from here to our sites for service.
Our kids are really getting a higher quality product.
Absolutely.
They're getting a product that tastes good.
Yes.
And one that's made from scratch and are probably fresher than getting a frozen product.
Absolutely.
Stephanie, is there anything else that you'd like our families, our community, our staff to know about the state-of-the-art facility?
The equipment it's outstanding. I've shown you some of the things we can do here today, but the team behind it is really our secret sauce. The people that work here, all the work that goes into getting the food here and getting the food out from our warehouse team and our team that works here in the central kitchen. Processing through the change curve and doing things differently today, and you've done them a different way for 10 to 20 years, is a really hard thing to do, and I commend them for that.
Stephanie, thank you so much for taking us on a tour of the Central Kitchen facility, and thank you for all you do and our food and nutrition staff, because they impact every child every day. And I have to think, if they're feeling good at school, they perform better, they achieve better. It's just amazing that everything that happens here, from ordering to producing to shipping to serving, and serving 30,000 meals per day. That's just quite an amazing feat. So thank you very much, and you are a huge part and a huge heart of our district. Thank you. It was great. This morning we had 50 of our student leaders there giving us feedback and input today too as part of the superintendent's advisory. So we thank those students for being with us this morning. Chandler Unified School District was recently honored by the Chandler Chamber of Commerce with the Chandler 100 Award. CUSD is a proud Chandler employer and honored to serve such an incredible community and partnering with such an incredible Chamber of Commerce. As we head to the end of the calendar year, please consider making an Arizona Public School tax credit contribution to your favorite school district, CUSD. Tax credit contributions can reduce what you owe in state taxes or increase your state refund. So pretty much it could be a wash for many of you, and you can help lots of kids. Finally, as winter break approaches, I want to take a moment to wish each of you and your families a joyous and restful holiday season. Thank you for your dedication and support in making our school district a vibrant and nurturing community. Be safe, act with kindness, and see you all in 2024.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Narducci. That brings us to what you've all been waiting for. So we're going to do our citizen comments. Anybody that has a that filled out blue cards, if they're in the other room, could you make sure they get here? Okay. Also, before we start, I got two admonitions, one from me and one from the state. So we normally have 20 minutes to do this because we normally don't have very many folks. We have 35 speakers, so we're going to do a minute apiece. I know that's not very much, but that's what we got to do to get out of here before midnight. Please keep your comments in good taste, and remember that if you can tell us anything you want to, but if you tell us something that's not in our purview, there's nothing we can do about it. So our first speaker is going to be Matthew Carterman from Mesa, Arizona.
Hello. I'm here representing both PAC, the
Oh,
Palestinian...
hang on a second, Matthew. I'm sorry. I forgot the second part. I got to read an admonition.
No worries.
Okay. This is the time for the public to comment. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, at the conclusion of the open call to public, individual members of the public body may respond to criticism made by those who address the public body, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the public body shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during the open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. Okay. Sorry about that, Matthew. Could we get his time started over again?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm here representing both JVP, Jewish Voice for Peace, and PAC, the Palestinian American Community Center. As an anti-racist Jew working toward a future where people of all identities may live freely and peacefully, we are extremely alarmed by the organized effort of racist, xenophobic, and Islamophobic groups such as AZ Patriots to intimidate and force the resignation of CUSD school board member Patty Serrano over her involvement with bringing Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib to speak to Phoenix residents. School board member Serrano is the first Latina to sit on this board in the district with a substantial Latino community. Congresswoman Tlaib is the first and only Palestinian lawmaker in Congress. During this difficult time for Palestinians everywhere, while the Israeli state is indiscriminately bombing civilians and infrastructure and actively making the Gaza Strip an unlivable habitat, perspectives like Tlaib's are crucial and necessary. Her recent censure in Congress has limited most American citizens' exposure to Palestinian perspectives.
Time has expired.
Okay, thank you. Next we get to Judy.
Hello, Can you hear me well? Yeah. My name is Judy, and I'm here. I'm representing the PAC community, which is the Palestinian American Community Center, and I'm here just because I know that Miss Patty Serrano, she received a lot of criticism in regard of hosting, inviting Rashida Tlaib, and I'm here just to show some support and some love because as a member in the board school, she deserved to, she has the right to practice her own, what she stands for, and practice what she feels that the right to practice without getting criticism from maybe whatever the people, I don't want to like be
15
quoted on that.
seconds.
So she deserved to stand for her beliefs, and I believe in free speech, and also people needs to do what they stand for without getting a lot of hate. And with that being said, I just wanted to support.
Time has
the
expired.
cause. Yep.
All right. All right, thank you. Next, we get to hear from Jamila from Chandler, Arizona.
Hello, President, members of the board, and Superintendent Narducci. My name is Jamila, and I am a Palestinian American and also a member of the Chandler community, and also a mother to 3 of your students right here at CUSD, and an aunt to 4 more of your students right here in CUSD. So you can say that I am really invested in the success of this district. It means the world to me, literally. I am entrusting my actual world to you, the educators, the administrators, and to you, members of the board today. It's very important that the group here today, who I've entrusted with my world and my legacy, my daughters, see them,
15
see
seconds.
us, and I mean really see us, and as a people worthy of being not just seen, but understood and deserving of high-quality education that weaves within its fabric the beauty of diversity. And with Patty Serrano, we have felt seen, we have felt heard, we felt compassionately understood. And Patty represents the unique diversity that we need here at Chandler. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next, we get to Zainab Prushanovsky.
Hello, good evening, board. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I am Zainab Prushanovsky. I'm a proud parent of CUSD 2 children. I'm also a current Arizona certified teacher. I teach kindergarten, so I had my jingle jog today. I just want to say we have an awesome district here. Congratulations to Knox Gifted Academy for the top honors and #1 school in Arizona. This is why I chose CUSD when I moved here 12 years ago for our children. Also, as it was mentioned before, we have 5,200 employees in CUSD, which gives us the 3rd highest employer in the district, in Chandler, the city itself. So also the wonderful DLI language immersion program that we had this evening, I really enjoyed and was very, is really emotional for me because with those languages, they can also learn programming languages, which is very important for national security. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we get to Brett Wingate from Chandler, Arizona.
Thank you for letting me speak, members of the board. I am rising about the ASU speech and rally with Rashida Tlaib, which was co-sponsored by Patty Serrano and CARE. Rashida Tlaib had just been censured for a genocidal statement targeting Jews. And the CARE co-founder, Niwad Awad, was just quoted as being happy for the October 7th atrocities that happened, the terror attack and the sexual atrocities that happened October 7th, where rape and sexual abuse were intentionally inflicted upon women, girls, and boys. In addition, children and infants were abducted and held as hostages for later trade.
15 seconds.
In addition, if you are signing on with this, you need to sign on with all of it, meaning you agree that with the Hamas position that every Jew, Christian, and non-Muslim must be slaughtered, or
Time
you
has
agree.
expired.
Okay, we're done talking with Mr. Bratt for now. Okay. Before we get to the next person, please remember, we don't get to vote on that stuff. We're here for kids. Next, we get to Gigi Asim from Tempe.
My name is Gigi. Thank you. My name is Gigi and I live in Tempe. Thank you so much for allowing me to say a few words here in support of Patty Serrano. Patty Serrano's words at the last meeting on October the 18th touched me profoundly. I'm in great admiration of a woman who has dedicated her life to advancing children's lives. This woman has worked with displaced and refugee children, and I wish I'd had somebody like her at my side when I was a displaced refugee child myself. I and my family fled from a genocide also, so I've got deep admiration and support for this woman who would have helped a child like me. If this had been in the 1940s with Jews being persecuted in Europe and someone like Patty had been addressing you with the words she addressed you with
15
on October
seconds.
the 18th, would you have been offended then? The words she said would have applied to any Jewish child, to any Semitic child, to any white, black, or brown child. What exactly would any self-respecting human being have found offensive in her words then or now?
Time has expired.
Next, we get to Melissa Garlarza. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, from Phoenix, Arizona.
Hi, thank you. My name is Melissa Galarza, and I'm a volunteer leader in the Chandler, Ahwatukee, Phoenix, and Tempe region. I just came out here to say thank you for allowing me to speak today. And I'm here to say thank you to Patty Serrano. I am just so proud of you and your dedication to the Chandler School District. You have officially made it 1 year. I can see how much you love this school and the difference that you are bringing to this community. So again, thank you. I don't need a full minute.
Okay, thank you. Now we have Ann Adams from Chandler, Arizona.
Hi, my name is Ann Adams. I would support, as a family, a resignation of Patty Serrano. I don't support you getting behind Talib when we have such conflict in our country. I don't agree with the killing on either side of the aisle, to be quite honest. But in Talib's own words, there's a kind of calming regarding the Holocaust, and some of the comments she's made regarding the Jewish people, I think, creates an environment that doesn't support the Jewish community. I mean, we should support all communities. Let's support the Muslims, let's support the Christians, let's support the Jews. And I don't understand that stance, and it certainly makes me feel very uncomfortable.
15 seconds.
Please support all children, and let's just focus on excellence in education and get the politics out of our lives. I mean, that's what our jobs are here. Thank you.
Next, we have Jess Trias from Chandler.
Pass on that.
Nope. Okay, next we have Charlotte Goya from Chandler, Arizona.
On October 7th, 1,200 Jewish Israeli citizens were butchered in their homes. October 7th set ablaze a fire of anti-Semitism throughout the world that you can hear out there. And CUSD board member Patty Serrano chose to throw gasoline on that fire by sending out an email on behalf of Progressive Democrats of America, inviting members to hear Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib speak at ASU. This was after Tlaib was censured by Congress for her use of the anti-Semitic rallying cry from the river to the sea, calling for the destruction of Israel. Board Member Serrano, by sending that email, you clearly took sides in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And while that is within your rights as an American citizen, as a school board member, it is reckless. As a
15
board member,
seconds.
you represent all students, and that includes Jewish students. You've done the Jewish students of our community a great disservice with your political activism. If your interest in politics runs so deep, the appropriate thing to do is step down from the
Time has
board.
expired.
Okay, now we get to hear from Seppi Hoff. Seppi Hoff from Chandler.
We've been through a lot over the past few years. We've met in this very room discussing a lot of pressing issues, from masks to quarantines to the impact of mental health, CRT, and of course the divide between educators and parents. Among all these important issues, one event stood out significantly. During one of our governing board meetings on October 27, 21, a participant made a very offensive anti-Semitic remark, turning an unrelated point into hate speech. Mr. Frank Narducci responded promptly by collaborating with the Jewish community and initiated a plan of action. On October 28th, you issued a district letter condemning the hate speech and took swift action right away. Recently, Patty Serrano organized and sponsored an successful event at ASU. This differs significantly, sponsoring someone who intentionally speaks about eradicating a region
Time
or
has
its
expired.
All right, thank you. Next, we get to Phyllis Lester from Chandler, Arizona.
My name is Phyllis Lester, and I'm a Jewish resident of Chandler, Arizona for 7 years. I have concerns about Patty Serrano being on our school board. As director of the Progressive Democrats of America in association with the group CARE, I have concerns of her judgment. The executive director of CARE just stated that he was happy, in quotes, about what Hamas did in October 7th, attacking Israelis in the most barbaric way. My concerns lie in what effect Patty Serrano's judgment will have on potential curricula. I'm not sure her values are in line with those of my community.
Next, we have Christopher Kelly from Chandler, Arizona.
Thank you so much for having me this evening. I just wanted to speak briefly about the rising anti-Semitism that's happening not only on college campuses, but also at K-12 schools. I'm very disappointed in Member Serrano for sponsoring a rally that was probably not the best thing to do at that time. As a representative of all students, I am just, I'm saddened by it. I've unfortunately had to see many students and many people who have had to go through a lot of sad experiences, and to just echo what others say, throw gasoline on that fire. It just wasn't the right time. And I just want to say thank you all for all your time, and have a great night.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Michael Bradley from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Mr. President, board members, Superintendent Narducci. My name is Mike Bradley. I'm a retired teacher and assistant principal. I know from experience that teachers, principals, and leaders in education need to listen to different points of view before they make informed decisions. I appreciate Patty Serrano because she encourages everyone's voice to be heard. She listens to both sides of an issue, not just one side. She opens up conversations to include more voices, not fewer. This is the type of inclusive leadership that is needed in education, especially because our communities are so diverse. People appreciate leaders who listen to a variety of viewpoints
15 seconds.
before making decisions. Patty is someone who cares deeply about all of the communities within the Chandler district, and I'm sure, like many of us, she's mourning the loss of life among the Jewish community.
Time has expired.
All right. Next, before we hear from our next person, please, if you have signs, please don't pull them out. We don't need to see signs. If you want to speak at the microphone, you could have put in and filled out a blue card. Next, we're going to hear from Nicholas Collins from Phoenix, Arizona.
Hi, my name is Nick Collins. I work here in Chandler. I've known Board Member Serrano for some years now, and I know her to be an honest and upstanding person who doesn't bear any ill will towards anyone. I'm sad to read and hear some of the exaggerations and lies and bluster that have been raised tonight and online against Member Serrano. I urge the other board members to rise above the smears that they hear tonight and see them for what they are, not much different than the anger over book bans or CRT recently in the past. I hope you continue to believe in Board Member Serrano and hope that the board continues to benefit from her service. So let's stop tearing people down. I know you don't get paid enough for all this.
15 seconds.
And get back to business, making Chandler School District a great place in education for our kids. Thanks.
Okay. Next, we're going to hear from Lisa Calderon from Chandler, Arizona.
Good evening, Superintendent, Governing Board members, and community members. My name is Lisa Calderon. I am a proud Chandler parent of 4 daughters, 2 graduates, and 2 still currently attending. I am here to thank Board Member Serrano for her service to CUSD School Board over the last year. With 30% of CUSD students' body being Latino, it is important for them to see themselves represented in the district. In district leadership. Her representation of the Latino community has been noticed and felt far beyond the Chandler Community School District. I am grateful for Ms. Serrano, her dedication of her free time in the Chandler community, and for personal sacrifices she chooses to make in order to better our district. My daughters can see themselves in her, and that is powerful and allows them to know they are welcome and needed in spaces where Latinos have not been represented. She cares for all students, educators, and in just 1 year, she started dedication. We see you and we thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Nadim Salama from Phoenix, Arizona. Let me know if I got that wrong. Nadim? Nadine. Here we go.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Patty Serrano for the compassion, sympathy, and understanding that she shows towards all groups, but I commend her further for her speaking up in support of Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslim Americans who are experiencing hardship and difficulty in a hostile post-October 7 world. As board members, I speak to you all directly, and I want to highlight the important role that you have to end an increase in bigotry that we are seeing here in America, and to make sure that all those who identify as Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslim Americans receive the support they need, whatever that might consist of. It is imperative that you use your platforms to elevate your voices to speak truth to any of the injustices that are faced by staff members, children, or any others within our community. Local voters in electing you as board officials have entrusted you to uphold integrity when it comes to treating all groups with respect and equality. And I ask you to ensure with unwavering commitment that Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslim Americans in this community are treated in that same manner, and in fact are given greater consideration due to what they are experiencing and the impact that has.
Time has expired.
Okay. Next we have Mohammed Shalto from Chandler, Arizona.
Mr. President, members of the board, good evening. My name is Mohammed Shaltout. I'm an Arizona resident for 22 years. I've had 4 kids born here, 2 who have graduated from ACP, and a 3rd will graduate hopefully this year from ACP. I'm also a member of the Jewish Voices for Peace. So what did Tlaib, or for that matter, Ms. Serrano do? Ask for a ceasefire after all that slaughter that happened in Gaza? The ceasefire is something that 60% of people in the U.S. are asking for, and only 11% of the politicians are asking for, which is showing that they're completely out of touch. You see, I believe that the issue is that in many cases, people are conflating Zionism, which is a political colonial regime, with Judaism, which is a religion. This conflation is by design to draw support for the colonization of Palestine, which started 75 years ago, which completely disrupted the lives of the indigenous Jews, Christians, and Muslims who happily coexisted there for.
I'm sorry, sir, your time's over. Yeah. All right. Before I announce the next person, if you don't quit talking to her, you're going to get taken out by the police, okay? Okay. Next, we have Leda DeVillager from Gilbert.
Good evening, Superintendent Narducci, President and members of the board. My name is Leda DeVliger, and although I don't live in Chandler, I do work in Chandler, and I live in a neighboring community of Gilbert. And there are students and teachers that I am close with and care about deeply in this district. I have lived in Arizona my entire life and in the East Valley for over 20 years. While the population has been diverse, leadership has not. Ms. Serrano represents a large group of the population that has previously been unrepresented. I am here tonight to thank her for stepping up to serve. She is giving our youth someone to look up to that will elevate their voices. CUSD is fortunate to have her on the board and in the community. So, Ms. Serrano, thank you for being here to support students and educators. And I just want to end with this. I wasn't going to bring this up.
15 seconds.
I am Jewish, and I will stand proudly side by side with Patty any day of the week.
And next, we get to Christopher Cerrone from Chandler.
Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I am here in support of Board Member Serrano. I would like to have the people who don't agree with her to realize that is okay. However, I do not like what I have seen on the internet with regards to conflating criticism of Israel, which is an ideology, which you can attack with any epistemology, with criticizing the racial people known as the Jews. They are not one and the same. She has a right to her opinion. She has a right to her political views. Her job is to educate. If it's not within your views, that is in her purview. Teach your children that there are more than one opinion about any situation. As somebody who has been to war 4 times,
15 seconds.
Bosnia, Kosovo, Afghanistan, Iraq, I know the first person to suffer in war is the truth. I am not pro-Israeli, I'm not pro-Palestinian, I am pro-truth and pro-justice.
Time
Thank
has
you.
expired.
Thank you. Next, we get to Julie Valentine from Chandler. Do we have Julie? I think it's Julie. Valentine? Oh.
Hello.
Oh, sorry.
Julio Valentin. Good evening, guys. Tonight I speak in support of Patty Serrano, calling for the resignation of anyone sharing concern about the mental health of their students in light of the effects of this war and the toxic environment that it has the potential to create is shameful. The thing that makes our country great is that we can have civil discourse, our own point of view, and so long as we are not promoting hate, the freedom to express ourselves as we please. No one in America should be asked to resign over a humane comment. We must not allow hate or a difference of opinion to eradicate our humanity.
15 seconds.
JFK said, "We have the power to make this the best generation of mankind in the history of the world or make it the last." So with that, good night. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Julio. Melanie Sandoval from Chandler. You have a Melanie Sandoval?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Melanie Sandoval, and I am honored here to express our heartfelt gratitude to someone whose dedication and passion has truly made a significant impact on our school community. I speak, of course, of Patty Serrano, who has completed her first year of service as a valued member of our school board. Ms. Serrano, your commitment to fostering a supportive and inclusive environment has been nothing short of remarkable. As our mental health advocate, you've tirelessly worked to prioritize the well-being of our students, recognizing the importance of mental health and the overall academic success of our community. Your initiative in helping organize the Contigo event during Hispanic Heritage Month was a celebration that brought us together, fostering a sense of unity and pride in our diverse backgrounds. Through this event, you helped showcase the richness of our Hispanic heritage, creating a space for dialogue and understanding. The introduction to Councilmember Angel Encinas for our Mecha field trip exemplified your dedication to expanding horizons for our students. This engagement allowed us to connect with local leadership.
Time has expired.
All right, next we get to, I think it's Laisha De Leon. Did I get that right? All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laisha De Leon, and I am a student of Hamilton High School. I'm here to thank Patty Serrano for her first year of service. Your unwavering dedication to representing Hispanic students is commendable. Through your advocacy and actions, you have become a beacon of inspiration for many, including myself, proving that every student's voice and identity matters. In closing, thank you, Patty Serrano, for an outstanding first year of service. Your passionate advocacy and tireless efforts have undeniably enriched our school's community. We look forward to many more years of collaboration and positive change under your guidance. Congratulations on a successful year, and we can't wait to see what you accomplish next year.
Thank you. Next we get to, it's hard to read it, Kami Rincon from Chandler.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karime Rincon, and I wish I could say it was an honor to be here today, but I am very disappointed with our school board. You claim you are only here for the children, but are threatening on making Patty Serrano resign over wanting a ceasefire during a genocide. You claim you are all here for the children, but if that were the case, you guys would not be here wanting Patty Serrano to resign. However, that is not what I am here for. I am here to thank Patty Serrano for an amazing first year of service. Ms. Serrano has been an advocate for students all over the community, including myself. Ms. Serrano, your advocacy for the LGBT community has been truly inspiring, from helping organize protests against bans on LGBTQ books to leading a demonstration for LGBTQ rights. You have been a powerful voice for inclusivity and acceptance. Your commitment to ensuring that every student feels heard and represented is commendable.
15 seconds.
Furthermore, the impact of your organization of For Our City Day, where we collectively clean Chandler alleyways, is a testament to your belief in the importance of community engagement. Your leadership in this initiative not only beautified our surroundings, but instilled a sense of
Time
civic...
has expired.
All right, next we get to Kamrul Ashan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kamrul Hassan. I just wanted to give a big thank you to board member Patty Serrano for the amazing work that she's doing here at the CUSD. My kids go to Hamilton High School, and I've seen the great work that she's doing firsthand. Ms. Serrano's passion for making our schools top-notch really shows, and I cannot thank her enough for the hard work that she's doing, whether it is supporting the students, teachers, and parents like me. What I appreciate the most is that how approachable she is. She's just not here at the board. She's also listening to parents like us. Her willingness to hear our concerns and make things better, I really appreciate it.
15 seconds.
Thank you, Patty Serrano, and all the board member here.
Next we get to Masood Rahman from Chandler.
My name is Masood Rahman. I worked at Intel for the last 27 plus years and living in Arizona since 2001. I have 3 kids. They were all CUSD students, and 2 of them became educator. I have almost like 40 Intel friends. They are also here. I'm representing them. I appreciate Patty Serrano. I'm in solidarity with her. This is the kind of leaders we need in the organization and the CUSD as a whole, because our kids are learning how to talk in the different voices and how they can integrate. It's all about inclusiveness and the diversity. I work for Intel. we value those things. So what Patty Serrano is demonstrating is
15 seconds.
that she has the courage to speak out and also support the humanitarian cause. So the genocide should not happen. We should be all opposing that. So she is the lone voice and supporting the congressman.
Time has expired.
Next, we get to Carly Maumeister from Chandler. Hope I got the name right.
You did great. Good evening, Governing Board and Admin. My name is Carly Maumeister, and I am a proud mother of 2 boys attending our great CUSD schools. As a parent, I value Patty Serrano's leadership and appreciate her support for our numerous programs that help students excel. As a teacher in CUSD, I appreciate that she listens to all employees and works together to find solutions. And as a Chandler Education Association Vice President, I admire her ability to bring communities together toward a common goal. Patty is a product of our Chandler schools, and she exemplifies the CUSD core values of excellence, collaboration, equity, integrity, and efficiency. I'm proud to have Ms. Serrano represent CUSD and its beautifully diverse community.
Next, we get to Mr. Dan O'Neill from Gilbert. Dan O'Neill? Dan O'Neill. Oh, he's coming.
I'm on my way, slowly.
All righty.
You're going to hand me the mic, right? Yep. Thank you. There you go. Thank you, board members. My name is Dan O'Neill. I'm a 75-year-old retired school teacher. I substitute taught here years ago in Chandler and in Gilbert. I'm also the state coordinator for Progressive Democrats in America and a member of Jewish Voices for Peace. I came here today to celebrate my dear friend, Patty Serrano. If I may, Patty is the kindest, friendliest person possible. She is a dedicated community leader and has served the parents, teachers, staff, and most importantly, the students, and we heard a few of them here, they were so great, of this district. And I mean all of the students, including Jewish students, Muslim students, all of the students. Now, in contrast to some of the hateful rhetoric and disinformation that we heard earlier
Time
tonight,
has expired.
Okay. Sorry, your time has expired, sir. Next we get to, I'm sorry, next we get to Signa Oliver.
Yeah. Good evening,
thank you.
board. My name is Signa Oliver. I'm here to support my friend Patty Serrano and commend her for her understanding of the complexity of what's going on in Gaza right now. I've known Patty for a while, and I know that she is compassionate and insightful, and any calls to remove a duly elected board member without any merit based on what she believes is the right thing to do is wrong. I am a former law enforcement officer, a United States Army JAG officer, and I taught the law of war and rules of engagement. If you need a master class and what that means, you can come see me. But anyway, there's an African proverb that says, how are the children doing? I think that the focus that Patty has is on benefiting students and the cultural their cultural differences in her opinions. I would suggest the best use of the board and its efforts to the district is focus on the matters that will make sure that Chandler Unified School District children are doing well. Thank you.
Time has expired.
Next we get to Nancy Wilming of Queen Creek. Pass, okay. Next we get to Don Shim of Chandler, Arizona.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Shim. I'm a senior at Hamilton High School, and I am representing Student Solidarity Collective, and I'm here in support of Patty Serrano and the compassion and the activism she has towards minoritized people. I think that the people who have spoken before me have done a very, very good job at explaining why it is unreasonable that people are calling for her to resign or for her to be off the board. So I'm just going to talk about how much I appreciate Patty. When I first met Patty, I was starting out a grassroots organization for LGBTQ students, and the first thing she asked me is, what can I do for you? And I believe that that is the sentiment that Patty has carried over every day, from her
15
work on this
seconds.
board to her work in advocacy, and I am just so appreciative of her as a mentor, as a board member, and as a friend. So thank you so much, and congratulations on 1 year.
Next, we get to Diana, and I'm sorry, I can't read the writing. El Turk.
I think the fact that we are here discussing Ms. Serrano's anti-genocide stance is morally repugnant. She's speaking out for those who have no voice, the children who are being massacred. This is an issue of humanity. It is not a Jewish versus Muslim issue, and it is not a political issue. It's a humanitarian issue. As a Palestinian woman with Palestinian children, I am so grateful to Ms. Serrano for speaking out on behalf of the children. And to judge her for having a moral compass or ask her to resign is setting a very dangerous precedent. This is relaying the message that our brown children don't matter. We must send the message that all children matter, of all races and all religions. We are watching our families get massacred, and the Palestinian community needs support right now, support like hers, because we are not okay.
15 seconds.
Thank you.
Next, we have Dean Isa from Chandler. I think it's Dean. It's Isa.
Hello, my name is Reem. I'm a Palestinian refugee. I'm a third-generation Palestinian refugee. In 1948, my grandparents had to flee from my hometown because Israel was ethnically cleansing the city I should be from, but I have never seen. To come here to the US as a refugee and see this educational system not supporting Palestinians and being okay to have Palestinian children unsafe in the school, I wouldn't be very happy about it. So I support Patty, and thank you very much for supporting Palestinian kids.
Next, we get to Finn Howe from Tempe.
Hello. My name is Finn Howe, and I am a recent graduate of Basha High School, current ASU student, and have been in or was in CUSD for most of my life. And reflecting on my time in the school district, I really value education and the inclusive community that I was a part of, and I really want to thank Patty Serrano for contributing to that and really helping create a inclusive and caring environment here in the school district. Reflecting on my time in the school district, I think it's really important that we give educational opportunities to everyone, and I know
15
Patty Serrano
seconds.
supports that. There was no one I was more excited to vote for last year than Patty Serrano, and I think she's done a great job this year. So thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, we have Kaylee Cordova. Oh, no show? Okay, then that's everybody. We're going to take a 5-minute break before we do the rest of our business so everybody can have a restroom break. Thank you, everybody. that's going to be good. I didn't see exactly.
Pretty good. I met my commitment. I was going to come tonight. I had a nice 3-minute, 2.5 minute. How much I appreciate the board and how much we love it. So proud. And then when I saw all the people in 35, when I was number 9.
This is what tweets will do for it.
What's that?
This is what social media does.
Oh, I know. So it's just like I wanted to have a nice uplifting how
Yeah,
proud I am.
I appreciate
and
it.
I said I'm going to come in the one in December.
I remember you said that, yeah.
All this. Maybe I'll wait till January. The last one I was here in October was.
Well, January we'll have meeting, we'll have installation of officers, so come back and talk to us then.
Maybe I'll talk. Yeah,
Definitely.
I'll keep it. I've got it all written down.
Hopefully we can get the 3 minutes.
I had 3, and then when I saw the people in line, I go, okay, 2. And then they go 1 minute, and I go, I can't. I'm just going to do injustice. I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I want to do it
Well,
right.
appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to head out.
Have a happy holiday.
Okay, happy holidays to you.
Okay. Take care. Well, funny.
Yeah, that's what it is. So that's what I talked to the network guy. He said, send us the link and we unlock it. We will unlock it. So you can see
Okay, we're going to start getting back together in about a minute here, everybody.
Okay, I just printed more. Okay, do you want me to pass those out? Yeah, I can.
You know?
Stop saying, as you know. Okay. I had. Oh. Okay, we're going to start getting everybody back together in about 30 seconds, guys. Yeah. So Carly wasn't here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like Ezekiel Bell. Yeah, because we don't know. We're ready? Sure. We're ready. All right, you guys ready to go?
I am ready when you are ready, sir.
So we're going to get rolling again. We're going to start with our out-of-state travel planning. Mr. Narducci, are you going to take that one?
I'm going to take consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. It's in the consent agenda.
Oh, that's in consent agenda. Okay. So let's go ahead and do our consent agenda.
All right, we're going to get meetings started, so if we have other conversations that would like to be outside, you're more than welcome to stay in the lobby there. That's perfect. Otherwise, we're going to continue the meeting. President Olive, members of the board, the consent agenda is presented for approval as written and published.
All right. Could I get a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President, I move to approve the consent agenda as published.
Did I get a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. I think Mr. Roars had a comment before we vote on it.
Yeah, just a couple things I wanted to point out. I did notice that the Hull Elementary PTO donated $35,000 for a shade structure at Hull Elementary, and I thought that was a very, very generous gift, and I wanted to thank them for that. Another thing I noticed that was very curious is that in our IGAs that we're going to approve here, there are two appendices. One is a prohibition of a boycott of Israel, and I guess purchasing, and there's also a prohibition of any company that uses forced labor from ethnic Uyghurs. I thought that was odd, but people need to know that that's in there.
I'm sorry, I don't have that, or I don't think I have that in my consent agenda.
All the IGAs have it as an appendix.
Mr. Roars, I've seen a lot of those that are required with various
Well, I think they are
governmental-
required by the state.
Yeah,
but
they're required by contract.
just so people know that's in there. And then we're going to approve high school course catalogs. I don't think we're going to talk about the new courses, but there's one about world religions where we're going to go in depth in two religions, not sure which two. One thing I'm very happy about is that personal finance will now be offered at all high schools in the high school catalog. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published and presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you. That brings us to our action items for tonight. Mr. Dunn, we're going to talk about the Basha High School Field House.
President Olive, members of the board.
They've been having trouble with that mic all night. You have to use the handheld, I believe.
Is that on? There we go. Good evening, President Olive, members of the board, Mr. Narducci. Bring to you Basha High School field house. Basha High School currently does not have a field house. As such, they don't have enough locker room capacity, adequate training room space, and no team room. This addition is critical for the student athletes at Basha High School and would put them on par with other Chandler Unified High School facilities. A request for qualifications was issued, and Chase Building Team was selected as the general contractor of record. The district has negotiated a guaranteed maximum price for this project for $4,184,006, which the district believes is fair and reasonable given the current market conditions. Recommend approval of Chase Building Team to construct the Basha High School Fieldhouse project for $4,184,006.
Okay, thank you. Before we can discuss it, we need to get a motion on the table. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Could I get a second?
A second.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Go ahead, Ms.
Mr. Dunn, approximately how many square feet is this facility?
Just under 9,000.
And so we're looking at about $450 a square foot,
That's
roughly?
correct. Yes.
Okay. Just doing that off the
Yeah,
top.
that was
Okay.
good math.
And do you have any idea as to, in the original build, why a field house was not included? Does anyone have that history, perhaps?
I have a little bit of that. It just wasn't in the budget at the time. That was, I think they were just trying to stretch as much as they could, and field houses and things like that were let's do it later when we have the money kind of thing.
Well, I think Basha High School might have been fully SFB funded.
Yeah.
And not bond supported like we did at the other high schools.
Yeah, so it's excluded, and they don't pay for excluded space. Basically, a field house is not, they have included and excluded spaces, and they don't pay for that.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious on that one, so thanks.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, then all those in favor of approving the Basha Fieldhouse GMP for $4,184,600, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, that carries. Next item is Ms. Berry's School District Annual Expenditure Budget Revision Number 1.
Right. Mr. President, members of the board, in accordance with Arizona Statute ARS 15-905E, a school district must revise its budget prior to December 15, 2023. Attached is the budget revision number 1 and an explanation of the predominant reasons for the adjustment. Recommend approval of the 23-24 district annual expenditure budget revision number 1.
Okay, thank you. Could we get a motion on the table so we could discuss that?
Mr. President, I move to approve the 2023-24 district annual expenditure budget revision number 1.
Okay, thank you. Could we get a second? Thank you. Does anybody have any discussion on budget revision other than what we've already done?
I just wanted to comment that thank you for the very thorough presentation earlier this evening, and you made things very clear as to what was being adjusted, and you hit the highlights well. So thank you and your team for putting all this together.
You're welcome, and I want to say thanks to Barb. She always looks through every single detail, even to every penny. So I've appreciated that for the last 10 years. So thank you for always looking at everything.
You're welcome, and I'll talk to you about another thing I've found.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Thank you. Keep me on my toes. That's awesome.
All right. If there's no other discussion, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of approving the budget revision number 1, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
All right. That carries.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I have an item 10.02, the addendum to Galveston Elementary Architect and Engineering fees on here. Did we skip that?
That is not on my... It's on consent.
Okay, this says 10.02 right here.
Yeah, that's 9.08, Galveston Architecture and Engineering fees. You may have an older copy.
Okay.
All right, I've got 10.03 as being consideration and possible adoption and resolution providing for all matters relating to the sale and issuance of school improvement bonds. Ms. Berry's going to tell us about that.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. President, members of the board, I'm going to review a little bit about the agenda item, and then I'm going to turn it over to our bankers, Randy Stein and Grant Hamill, that are here tonight. But a couple things I want to read through first, and then I'm going to go over a few things related to the school district. So tonight is a consideration and possible adoption of a resolution providing for all matters related to the sale and issuance of school improvement bonds of the district, including delegation to the superintendent and chief financial officer of the district to determine certain matters related thereto. The resolution before the governing board authorizes the issuance of bonds of the district to raise funds for capital projects of the district. The Series 2024 bonds represent the third and final sale from the 2019 election of $290,250,000. The resolution authorizes the district administration to move forward with the steps needed to execute the bond transaction. The board's approval puts the district in a position to execute the transactions when the timing is right, considering the district's need for the project dollars and the condition in the tax-exempt bond market. At the time the district is ready to sell the bonds, the professional financing team will analyze market conditions and work with the district administration to execute the transactions in a manner that will minimize the district's bond interest cost. District administration recommends flexibility to execute the transactions this fiscal year as we work to meet the district's needs for project funds and to determine an appropriate time to sell the bonds. So tonight we're going to go through a couple things, and then we're open to questions of myself and then Grant and Randy. Now they're going to also present a few slides, but I just wanted to talk and go over where we are at, the reason that we have Randy and Grant Hamill here with us tonight. Oh yeah, sorry. Oh, yep, sorry. Thank you. Okay. So bonds issued in cash status. So our issuance, just an overview of where we're at. Our total voter-approved initiative back in November of 2019 was $290,250,000. So far, we sold already previously in Cell 1 and Cell 2. We sold $195 million. And so what we have remaining in our last issuance to sell is $95,250,000. So where is our cash status? That's a little bit different compared to what the voters approved and what we've actually sold. How much cash do we have? And then you have already seen the annual financial report that ended on June 30th, and I reported back out in October. And then we also did our capital projects. But ultimately, we have sold in two different issuance $195 million worth of bonds. We have actually spent approximately $177 million, and right now we have a current balance of approximately $18 million in our account. So with that, a cash balance of $18 million, if the board agrees to approve a resolution tonight to sell the last 2019 bonds, that would sell. Sorry about that. $95,250,000. So the total amount would be $113,250,000 in our account. And why that's so important is because currently we have bond projects right now that are outstanding for about $52 million, and I'm going to go through those with you. A lot of those are in purchase order format. We have not issued the check for, but ultimately, as you know, we only have $18 million approximately in cash. We have $52 million, especially because of a couple major projects that we have going on that we will finish this upcoming year. Then we have future projects and categories for future needs of about $61,250,000, and that equates to the total for the remaining amount that we have of $113,250,000. So what are some of those current bond projects that we have in progress right now? As you know, you can look through the list. Most of these you are familiar with. We've either brought you in board report information
or you have had to approve either through the CM at risk process or design bid build, or you've gone through the job order contracting that you've given us permission to enter into with Mr. Dunn and I. So some of the major projects, there are some small projects, but as you know, we've ordered buses, and those will not come in. As you know, it took us a couple years to get our last order in, but it's probably a typical year now for buses to come back in. We have a big order for that coming back in, but we have purchase orders outstanding for that. We have multiple renovation, fire panel renovations, flooring, HVAC projects, but our largest probably project overall would be the Galveston Elementary project. We have broken ground obviously at Galveston, but that will take us a while to complete. It'll be almost a year before it's finished. Our other large expenditures, if you can see on the right-hand side, are marquees at all of our elementary schools, which we're really impressed with if you've driven by some of them that are of our junior highs and high schools. And as we finish the elementary marquees, that's a big project that we're about to complete. Another one is our turf high schools. As you know, we're replacing 5 of our 6 competition fields, and we have a purchase order out and outstanding for that. So we have approximately, that you saw, $18 million in cash. We have about $52 million in progress worth of work, so we need those dollars to be able to pay for the purchase orders that are outstanding related to the current projects at hand. We also have future projects. As you know, we've brought to you our technology budget. Our technology budget annually is around $30 million per year. A portion of the bond that is left, we only put $20 million into that 2019 bond for technology, so a portion of that, $10 million, will help fund the technology projects this year. We have the Basha Fieldhouse that you heard about tonight. That's approximately $4.7 million. We have a warehouse remodel started over near the support service area. If you've been over there, there's some needed to our warehouse to make it more efficient and effective, and also a better environment for our warehouse workers. We have some future safety projects that potentially are coming forward in some of our schools. Sound system replacements that are taking place as Colleen and her team evaluate those and replace outdated systems. We also have some furniture and equipment for ACP Middle School. As you know, we added on to that expanding school at ACP Middle School, and we are finishing the furniture for the new additions to ACP. Fire panels at Sanborn that will need to be replaced, and then fire panels at support services, because we've identified those not only in our preventative maintenance plan, but also just related to some of the safety issues that we have. We have currently going on our reimagining projects with 8 of our schools. We have some of those projects are started, and then we are in the middle of that. We're lucky that Heather and Leo, 2 of our executive elementary school directors, are leading that process with Dr. Gilbert and reimagining 8 of our schools in the process with those principals and the communities around those. Some of those, if needed, we could manage to push out a little while if we needed to, but right now we are in the middle of that. We do have set aside that we do not have earmarked $15,200,000 for future potential general renovation projects. And the reason for that is because we are putting together a bond proposal that we will be bringing to our community to review, our bond committee and our schools in our community, and then also our board will be making a decision in June if you want to call for a 2024 bond election. But if the board does not decide to call for that, we do need some money left within this last bond to be able to take care of emergencies or problems next fiscal year if our board decides not to call for it, or even if our board does call for it and then in November it does not pass, we need to have some money set aside in case we have emergency issues. We do have a future bus order potentially that's outstanding. Again, we'll hold on that until we know if we're calling for an election, and then also if we have a successful election, so we can hold out some for that. And then our HVAC, we have $2 million that we're on hold for to, again, make sure, depending on if we do call for election or not, we do have reserved funds reserved in case we need those next fiscal year. So that's a total of $61,250,000. So overall, we do have a few more projects that you hear about that are not part of our bond. I just wanted to bring those up because they're important. The roof at Bogle, funded through the School Facilities Board. We have a couple that are out there that are outstanding. We're asking for the SFB to be paid for, including the biggest one, which is that Chandler High School. We have not heard yet if we will be funded for that. That's our largest project at $8.8 million. So hoping for a total of $14 million through the building renewal grants to the state. So that would not impact our bond. It would save our taxpayers' dollars if the state would were to fund those projects. And then we have a few projects that, even though they're on the docket at our capital plan that we've talked about in the past, they will be funded through our adjacent ways, which is something that our board approved a tax for, that we've set money aside for, related to, again, the transportation roadway around transportation that we're required to put in and cover half of that cost. The parking lot at Knox Elementary, a portion where the bus and fire lanes will have access, the traffic signal light at Rice, and then the adjacent ways to pull utilities at Galveston Elementary School. And that is funded out of our adjacent ways and not our bonds. So I just think that's important because that's a big portion that doesn't come from the bond.
Well, I thought traffic lights could be due from adjacent ways, not true?
Yes, that is. That's what that category is that will come from adjacent ways. And that's pretty much it. So I wanted to let you know where we were at on the district's behalf and the reason that we have the resolution in front of you. And then I'm going to hand it over at this point to Randy Stein and Grant Hamill, again, our bankers from Stiefel, who've been doing work with us for a few decades and are great partners with us. And they're going to talk about the resolution and the $95 million that is on the board, or on the board meetings tonight. All right, I'm going to hand it over to, I think it's Grant.
Thank you very much, Lana. President Olive, members of the board, Superintendent Narducci, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Grant Hamill, Managing Director with the investment banking firm of Stiefel Nicholas. Joining me this evening is my colleague, Randy Stein. It's a pleasure for us to be here before you this evening to discuss the proposed sale of the district's remaining bond authorization from the 2019 election. In preparation for our meeting tonight, included in your board packets is a copy of the draft resolution, as Lana mentioned, authorizing the issuance of the bonds, other draft legal documents supporting the sale that were prepared by your district bond counsel, and also a draft preliminary official statement and a PowerPoint presentation for the bond sale, which we'll be sharing with you this evening. Randy is going to start off with a discussion of the district tax base, bond capacity, and tax rate information, and I'll share with the board information about current market conditions and the proposed timing of the bond sale should the board elect to go forward this evening. Please feel free at any time during our presentation or afterward to ask questions regarding this matter. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to Randy.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. I am charged with discussing the property tax situation in the district related to the potential bond sale. Property tax is key when you're talking about issuing bonds for school districts in the state of Arizona, because that's how the bonds are repaid by the district. The first picture that you are looking at is a historical graph of the property value in the school district. Arizona doesn't like to do this simply. There's actually two different property values that are provided by the assessor for each parcel of property in the state. The blue bars represent the full cash assessed value of the property. That is used to determine your bonding capacity. The red bar represents the limited assessed value of the property in the district. That is what the tax rates are based on. One thing I want to point out here is you can see right now there is a substantial gap between the red bar and the blue bar. That has to do with the sort of the cycle of the real estate market that we are in now, and the fact that the full cash value of property can grow at an unlimited rate every year, but the limited value of property for most of the property in the state can only grow by 5% if that property is not changed. So that combination, the cycle that we're in the real estate market, where property values have been run up pretty substantially on a market perspective, yet this limitation on the growth for taxable value leads to this gap. Important here because we would expect the value of your property for tax purposes to continue to increase at essentially the same rate that you're seeing on the very bottom of this page, 4, 5, 6, 8, 7% over the last several years. Very solid growth, and even if market values do not continue to increase, there's a decent amount of room between your limited property value and your full cash value. That limited property will continue to increase. This is a view of the types of property in the district. There are essentially 3 types of property in the state. Residential property, which in Chandler Unified is the largest piece here, represented by that yellow bar. There's also commercial and industrial property, which is the blue bar, and then the green bar is the agricultural property. In a community established like this, it is not uncommon to see a very small amount of agricultural property. And then a historical look at the district property tax rates. You'll see that the property tax rates have been edging down over time, again, somewhat related to the fact that property values have been going up. The biggest part of your property tax rate is that primary property tax rate, the orange bar on the bottom. That is directly tied to the school funding formula in the state of Arizona. You really have there's very little that districts do to change this. There are a few small pieces that are added potentially to the primary property tax rate, but most of that is the qualifying tax rate that is set by the state every year. What you see in the red bar is the tax rate associated with the district maintenance and operation override, and then the blue bar is your bond tax rate. Again, all these rates are edging down over time as your property value is increasing, and that green line is the total tax rate for the school district. Just a view of what is currently outstanding for the district with its general obligation bonds. The blue is the principal amount that is outstanding. That orangish red color is also the interest associated with each year that the district is obligated to pay for bonds that are already outstanding.
Quick question on that one.
Yes.
Is that counting what we've already sold, or is that counting this sale that we're talking about now?
This is counting everything that has already been sold. This does not include the sale that you're talking about this evening.
Okay, thanks.
And then a picture of the district's bonding capacity. This is dictated by Arizona revised statutes. You can see the full cash value of the district here is just over $6 billion. Statute allows you to have outstanding 20% of that in a principal amount of bonds. The district already currently has $329 million that is outstanding. So you actually have a bonding capacity of $900 million. In this district of late, bonding capacity has not been an issue vis-a-vis what your voters have approved, but I will tell you that in other parts of the state, that is not the case, and you know, in some ways this almost looks like a silly presentation, but in some parts of the state, this is a very large concern, just what state law limits you to. And then a picture of what we are talking about this evening. So the bonds that are currently outstanding, the debt service and the current tax rate for fiscal 24 is showing in columns 4 and 5. And then we are projecting the tax rate for fiscal 25 and forward. The bonds that we are talking about this evening are showing in columns 6 and 7. And then a combined debt service for those bonds in column 8, and column 9 with the additional property tax rate associated with that $92.25 million. The combined tax rate, again, what we are expecting based on the estimated property value growth numbers in column 3, the combined tax rate that we are projecting is in column 11, which does include the 92.25 million that is on your agenda for this evening. And for comparison purposes, we have added column 12, which is the expected tax rate at the time your voters voted in 2019 on the full bond program. So the district has been able to stay within, and we would expect you going forward to be able to stay within that projected tax rate that was shown in the voter information pamphlet in 2019.
A question about that one. Why is the 25 why do the 25 numbers deviate so much more from the ensuing years? Because it seems like the secondary tax rate is like 0.46, and then next year is like 0.14.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I understand your question. Thank you. We're actually designing it that way. This may change over time, and of course, this would be part of the discussion, an ongoing discussion that we have with your superintendent and your chief financial officer. I'm going to go back for a second. You can see that the amount of principal actually drops off that's currently outstanding for fiscal 25, and we are actually structuring this $92 million to fill that in there, and it will ultimately smooth that, keep that tax rate steady at that $1.28. And that certainly can be changed over time. But the idea, the concept was to continue keeping that tax rate steady, and to use the prior to the $92 million in column 5 in fiscal 25, we would expect about an 82-cent tax rate. So there's room there. So we're just filling that again with the goal of keeping that tax rate steady and getting the bonds paid off in a timely manner. And before I turn this back over to Grant Hamill for the market update, let me pause for a second, see if there are questions on the other questions on the property tax information.
Yeah, can you go through why in fiscal year 2024 and 25 we're adding $15.6 million to the principal? Is that the issuance that we're talking about right now?
It is. Yes, the columns 6 and 7 for fiscal 24 and 25, the way this is preliminarily structured, we would have a principal payment of about $15.6 million, and then column 7 is the interest that would be associated with that, about $3.7 million for the combined debt service just on that $92.25 million of $19.3 million.
And in the previous years, it's $3 to $4 million each. Is that just selling off the bonds each year as we needed them?
Exactly. Each year, there are various maturities of all the bonds that are outstanding for the district that are paying off over time. So those numbers change over time, and the debt service amount in column 4, the bonds that are currently outstanding, that actually drops off pretty precipitously when you go down into fiscal 29 and fiscal 30, and generally that's how districts will then that's why districts generally have room and are able to sell the next series of bonds without having a dramatic impact on the current tax rate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Do you have a question, Barb?
Yeah, I do have another question, or a question. So when we look at column 12, those were the actual projected numbers that were in our voter information pamphlet when it was voted on in 2019. Is that correct?
It is correct, members of the board. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And column then 11 is what we would be looking at as the combined secondary bond tax rate for those years subsequently, which then if we did sell if there were additional voter approved bonds, we would be looking at there could be some capacity to maintain that same tax rate in 25 and 26, if I'm interpreting it correctly.
Yes, that is correct. I do want to make sure that the board and the audience understands that these are estimates. We do not have the crystal ball that tells us exactly what your property value is going to do over the next 20 years. That would be a key tool to have. But you can also see the estimated property value growth that we're using in column 3. That's actually the statutory mechanism. If you were doing an election, you see that the first 5 years are at an average over the prior 10, and then it drops off to 20% of that. 6.8 is probably a pretty reasonable estimate for this district. 1.38, over 15 years is probably quite low.
Now, with the estimated growth in the property values, obviously it is capped at 5% that we can do. So that additional 1.88% is basically due to growth of additional new builds, new property that's coming in, or how, since it's capped? I can understand how it's going down, but if it's higher than 5%, it's got to be new properties being added onto the tax rolls, correct?
Exactly. When you see, especially in your district that is so heavily in the residential property, all of those properties have a 5% growth cap. So yes, when you see in prior years down here that the growth of the limited assessed value was greater than 5%, clearly there was new property added to the tax rolls. And in some of those years, it's pretty, there's a pretty big deviation between the full cash assessed value, the full cash value, and the limited property value. Fiscal 21, for example, clearly there was quite a bit of property that was added, and there was this limitation on your existing property, so it held that number down to the 7.5 instead of almost 12.
So with our close to being built out in this area, I see that 6.88 number kind of came from the 10-year average.
Exactly.
And I guess, is that realistic since we are getting so close to build out in this area?
A couple comments on that. In column 3, the 6.88 is only going for 5 years. We see that big gap between your full cash and your limited property value. So that tells us we can expect some pretty good years of growth still, 2, 3, 4, 5 years at least 5% without any new property coming online. The other thing that's important is the valuation system in the state lags by almost 2 years. So what you have being constructed now is not even on the tax rolls and probably won't be until we get to, fiscal 26.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, President Olive, members of the board, I'd like to spend just a few minutes talking to you a little bit about conditions currently in the bond market. Shown on this slide is a graph of the yield on AAA rated bonds having a 10-year maturity over the past 12 months. This is a fair representation of how municipal bond rates have performed over the last year. And as you can see, there's been significant volatility in interest rates this year, shooting up over the summer and into the early fall. However, starting in November, interest rates fell pretty dramatically in the market as inflation started to moderate and the Federal Reserve elected not to continue hiking interest rates further. This pause in rate hikes caused both the bond and the stock markets to rally as investors anticipated more stability in the bond market. So the big question there, if you look at the right side of that graph, is, where do interest rates go from here? Investors generally feel that inflation is moving in the right direction, though it's still not at the Federal Reserve target rate of 2%. It is still in the 3% range, but again, moving slowly lower. The Federal Reserve, as many of you know, met today and in fact elected to hold interest rates steady and keep the interest rate in the range of 5.25% to 5.5%. They also opened the door to possible interest rate cuts in 2024. As a result of that decision today, interest rates fell this afternoon on the news, so generally I would say there's a fairly bullish outlook with regards to interest rates going into the new year. Any questions on the market?
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed it changing rapidly in the last few weeks as well. Is related to, say, a 10-year treasury, which is the one that's most widely reported for us to see. It was up almost 5%, now down about 4%. I didn't see where it closed.
Just a shade over 4%.
About
today.
shade over 4. So how does that relate to these rates? Would they be somewhat less, or how does that work?
They're connected. So municipal bond rates, because those municipal bonds are tax exempt, they sell typically at a ratio to comparably maturing U.S. Treasury securities. So the ratios have been very favorable to issuers of bonds because the ratio, for example, for a 10-year municipal bond that's rated AAA, and I'll say to the board and to the audience, the Chandler Unified District is AAA rated issuer of bonds. Typically that ratio historically has been around 80% of the U.S. Treasury rate, but those, because the municipal bond market has been so strong, those ratios are really down into the 60% range. So that makes municipal bonds from an issuer's perspective very attractive right now, not so much from an investor's standpoint because they're not getting as much return as they normally would as compared to a taxable bond issue.
So essentially, it's a seller's market instead of a buyer's
Pardon me?
market. It's a seller's market rather than a buyer's
It's
market.
a seller's market. That's a good way of putting it. So interest rates are moving in the right direction, and I think that bodes well for a bond sale by the district.
Thank you.
I'll spend just a minute now just talking about the proposed time frame. As Lana mentioned, there's variability built into the schedule to provide discretion for staff to move forward with the bond sale, also looking at market conditions, which again historically have been pretty variable, but with regards to the action of the Federal Reserve today, the interest rates have been stable, if not moving down. So we would anticipate meeting with the bond rating agencies in the January timeframe. We'd be preparing the offering document, or what's called the preliminary official statement, a draft of which is in your board packets. That would be available to investors in February, and that offering document would be posted about 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks before the actual pricing date of the bonds. We would anticipate pricing the bonds sometime in February, and then closing the issue probably sometime in March, and at that point, the bond proceeds would be deposited with the county treasurer in the district building fund. So any questions that the board may have with regards to the time frame?
No, keep going.
Very good, thank you. That concludes our presentation.
All right. Good job. All right, I think we have to do an action item here.
Yeah. Can I make a motion?
Yeah, go ahead and make a motion, Joel.
I move that the school district sell $95,250,000 in bonds from Series 2024 bonds, recommending approval.
All right, could I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Roars?
Yeah, going back to Mrs. Berry's presentation about future projects and categories, it looks like about half of it is already allocated and maybe 42 million unallocated to future projects as reimagining, future renovations, future bus orders, HVAC needs. But also the statement that if we can't sell another bond issuance next year, okay, because it has to go to the voters, that you're also holding that as essentially a contingency. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Especially in the last three line items that you see. Their reimagine process has began. on that, as you know, with the 8 schools. But the last 3 items on the list, it's the future general renovations for 15.2, the future bus order for 5, and the HVAC repair for 2. Now, we do have plans to do that. We have a preventative maintenance schedule to replace the HVAC. We do need to purchase the buses, and ultimately, we would then be able to reimagine a few other schools with that, but we will hold that out in case we don't. So that's why we're going to be very strategic with holding that until we know if we pass a bond election in November.
Okay, so essentially it's a contingency then.
Yeah, it's the reserve. We have plans for it. Sorry about that. We do have plans. We just want to make sure we stop and do not execute those plans until it goes through. It's not
Until
just
you-
extra additional dollars. We do have plans in our preventative maintenance schedule and for bus orders and for technology, for example, but we're going to hold that.
We're going to hold it until the next bond election
Yes.
has to pass for
Yes.
you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
One quick question. I was just out of curiosity, we did have neighboring districts go for a bond vote this last year, and I'm not informed on this. Did they also utilize the same bankers as we are in that attempt?
I believe there's a number of our school districts. There's 225 school districts across Arizona, but I think the majority of the school districts use Stiefel to sell the bonds. Now, of course, not every district has voter-approved bonds. I'm assuming about, I don't even know what percentage across the state has bonds. 40% of schools, because unfortunately there's a lot of communities that either have a low secondary assessed value and don't have the ability to have to bond, or they can't get voter approval. So we're very fortunate that our voters have approved bonds, but I would say Stiefel does the majority of those 40%. They're excellent in helping us. They've been our partner for a few decades, and they are tremendous partners, not only for Chandler Unified School District, but for the state.
Thank you.
Barb?
I was just going to make a comment that I'm really glad to see that, the estimate on being able to have the 2019 bond last 4 or 5 years was a very accurate prediction, and I see that as the staff knowing really what needed to be done here in the district and the planning processes, and even, I hate to say it, but helping predict the future a little bit as to what the needs of our organization is going to be. And I think that as we also move forward, that that planning process is vital to really making sure that in the future we also continue that same kind of fiscal responsibility as we go through and look at the bonds.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Maslin. I do think that it's really important. If you look back, you can see that in 2006 we approved a bond, and then 4 years later in 2010, 5 years later in 2015, 4 years later in 2019, and now we're going into 5 years later into 2024. It is a 4 to 5 year typically process. You can see the escalation costs of supplies and labor as the markets have changed. We do meet almost weekly, if not even more. And I think something Colleen Flannery said the other day really hit home. She talked about the 3 M's, and it's a really good concept she came up with that explains what we do. We're constantly maintaining our facilities. We have $5.5 million. So we have a chunk of money that has to be spent on just maintaining our biggest asset, which is 5.5 million square feet. And then we have to modernize, just like we do with any house. You have to modernize not only your furniture and equipment, but your house, which in a sense is our buildings of 5.5 million square feet and our fleet. And then also you want to maximize that. So she came up with the 3 M's that are really important because we want to maximize the potential that our students have here at Chandler Unified School District. We're looking at opportunities to be innovative, not only in that learning experience, but that's where we're super lucky to have our education team led by Dr. Gilbert too. On that side is what are we doing to maximize that learning space, and what are we doing for the future to be future ready? So how do we maintain it? How do we modernize it? And then how do we maximize our potential in our facilities that we have? And so that's the planning that we do. We meet on a regular basis, and we've came a long ways in figuring out what we need, and we just continue to work on that. It's a weekly process with our team.
And I really like the fact that that an audit has pretty much been started to look through all of the anticipated preventative maintenance type things that are needing to be done. And of course, we then are seeing a lot of those and many of the things that are off of that list on the listing that we received tonight about how we were going to use the proceeds of this particular bond. So thank you.
You're welcome. Tom Dunn, just want to say a couple words about him. He's done a great job he started that project a couple of years ago to really, and his team with Lou and a few of the other guys to really inventory our current projects, have everything on replacement schedules. There's always something we're learning to add something. We thought about a couple things this week that we hadn't added, but ultimately, and then working on the furniture and equipment and the technology side. So it's been great to start that process of replacement schedules, not only just with preventative maintenance of what needs to take place, but also as now we have a replacement schedule for technology now that we're one-to-one and we have devices, software systems, infrastructure that has to be replaced on a regular basis, but getting all of those on systems and business processes related to that has been really great. It's really due to Colleen Flannery and Tom Dunn's leadership in those areas.
Thank you.
Quickly, I just want to echo everything Ms. Berry shared, specifically around technology. I think as we look into the future and how to best creatively capture new students and maintain our student population, we want to show that we are a competitive, attractive destination district. And I've had the opportunity with the holidays to take some time off of work and do some more visits around schools. And I cannot say enough about the interactive smart boards. Every classroom or interaction I've had with them and seeing teachers use them, they're phenomenal. And if we do not already have them available to nearly every teacher, I would love to see that because from my experience and everything I've heard, it's an incredible tool and it makes their teaching, it facilitates it really. And they're not running back and forth from the desk back to the projector and whatnot. So that's been really great to witness. And, we definitely want to be thinking about being that destination school through what we offer in technology. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions before we vote on the resolution? All right. Then in that case, all those in favor of approving the resolution as presented, please say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. That carries. That brings us to information items at the end here. Student activity, auxiliary operations, tax credit reports for the month ending July 23 through November 23 are provided for review. That's in our packets. The CUSD board roadmap.
Actually, could I ask a question
Yes.
about the auxiliary reports? It's something I've always found curious, and it's a good time to ask. We collect money for parking permits, okay? And we have accumulating a lot of money on these things. Bosch has about 86,000, Hamilton has about 169,000, Perry has about 180,000, ACP about 84, Castile about 101, and Chandler about 33. What do we use that money for? Why are we accumulating so much?
That's actually a great question. So our revised statute guides what you can spend parking lot dollars on. You can use it to repair a parking lot. You can also use it for security. So a lot of times, too, what we can do is we can trade them for, if we do fund a security officer, we can trade a security officer that comes out of maintenance operations for other things they need. So there is ability to swap different needs that they have within that, but ultimately there are set things that we can pay for with those parking lot fees.
What do they normally pay? What do they normally
We
use
pay
them for?
what do they usually pay?
What do they normally use them for?
Security officers that we use at our schools, and if we need to do something with our parking lots.
Okay, because the repair piece seemed to be easy to understand, but something else. so we pay for our SROs essentially, or
Security.
Okay.
Aren't they
Thank you.
also, don't you also use it for some of the numbering and restriping that has to be done every few years because all that stuff fades out?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and there was another line item I was curious about, is that there's about $9.5 million in the total auxiliary fund. About 20% of it, $1.8 million, is in the district office miscellaneous. What is that used for?
So That is part of the reserve balance that we discussed during the annual financial part. That's one of the pieces that we have to help us cover as we decline and as we need to utilize funds. For example, for this year, if we need to tap into that.
Okay, so that's part of the reserve calculation.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there any other questions on student activity tax credit reports or auxiliary operations? All right, that brings us to our roadmap. We're coming up Friday, we're going over policy. And the next meeting is not until next year. That's going to be meet and confer about employees. We're going to look at SROs and safety grants. We're gonna, we have a board election then, and we recognize our world-class employees then. That covers that meeting. Now we get to our board member current events.
Just a clarification on that,
Yes, sir.
President Alf.
Yes.
It's not a board election, but a president and vice president seats on the board. And we
yes.
We have to do that by statute on the first meeting we return in January.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to current events. Mr. Worth, you have anything?
Barb made me think of something. Years ago, we were testing a board member because there was a minuscule problem in an agenda. They caught it, Trish Miller caught it, and you remind me of her.
Thank you. I take that as a compliment.
Great. Barb, do you have anything new?
I just wanted to say, with the holidays coming up, I know everyone has a different holiday that they celebrate this time of year. And I just want to wish everybody a joyous holiday season, and also I wish them all peace.
All right, Mr. Roars, do you have anything new?
Yeah, attended a few events. On November 20th, they had a meeting of the career counselors, all the career counselors in the district. This is important because as we move down the CTA roadmap, and it becomes more and more important to the district, I'm starting to believe that career counselors are going to be more and more important to us and probably have an elevated status than what they have been in the past. So I think it's something we really need to pay attention to about what they're doing and how they're going to act with the new roadmaps and counsel their students along that path. So it's something that's going to come along with the career pathways. As a career counselor is far more important. Let's see, I was at a Chandler Chamber DEI roundtable. They had faith leaders from various faiths around the valley, and that was a very good discussion. And something we need to kind of keep in mind that we do have a lot of faith-based families here, of various faiths, not just one or two, and we do need to respect, what their beliefs are. Real great one was on the 6th, ACP, the high school had an information night, okay? It was standing room only. There was a line out the door. You couldn't get into the auditorium. So this is something that Fred Dupree founded as kind of a road program way back when. And Rob Bickus has grown it into a real juggernaut. I did talk to him about it, and one of his points was that he has a very well-defined product, and he knows how to market it, and it works in the marketplace. He is packing that place. So if we have other principals and staff members that are trying to understand that, I think, Mr. Bickus is going to be a very good resource about how to go about that. He's been very successful. Following night, I was at Basha Accelerated Middle School, which is a little bit smaller. I think they've got about 300 students. But that was also a very, very popular product, particularly their cybersecurity. There's a table set out there, and their parents packed around that thing. So that's a very good marketing product. I think we have capacity of maybe 360. I think she mentioned that. And this is, Tarina DeCarlo? Yeah. That you're already talking about expanding out to maybe about 500 students or so. I think you can get them. The parents really like that one. ACP Erie was last night. That's man Julie Reddy is the principal over there. Again, very popular with the parents. One thing I did notice that there were a lot of brown faces in the crowd, but they were mostly Asian brown faces. It's something that's very popular with the Asian community. Last night was a very interesting one. The Semicolon Society holds these Tuesday talks on essentially teen mental health. These are for the parents. These are talks for the parents to, talk about the issues that they have with their teens. And I think the most valuable part was actually to meet with each other. The one in January, it's on the second Tuesday every month. It's over at the ASU Chandler Innovation Center. January is about suicide prevention. One of the fears that I think most parents have the most. And then February is a very interesting one about teen dating. A lot of the parents got up and talked a little bit. A lot of them had 12 and 13-year-olds. And having been there, done that, it's a real tough time for parents. I think it's a very good thing for parents to get together with each other to discuss these problems. So have a little support, not thinking that they're having to do it all on their own, and also talk to experts on there. So I really would encourage parents to attend these on the second Tuesday of every month. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roars. Ms. Serrano, do you have anything new this week?
Well, I do want to address today's meeting just because there were some comments made about me that were not true. But first, wow, I'm so overwhelmed. I was not expecting the love that was felt in this chamber tonight. What a way to end the year. I want to thank our beautiful, diverse, invested community members that poured so much love and recognition into our room tonight, directly dispelling the politicized misinformation that was remarked about me by some people, and simply speaking truths, knowing that our priorities must and do stand with our students within my representation. While some defamatory and false statements were made about me personally this evening, the truth is that my sorrow, sympathy, and grief shared at our October 13th meeting for and with our Jewish, Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim impacted communities remains and is of no controversy, but of sheer humanitarian nature, seeing the dignity of all, particularly those too often left out, with genuine love, because as a representative in our community, I am determined to hold us accountable in shaping and maintaining schools that are welcoming to all of our students so that they may reach their full potential regardless of religion, ethnicity, culture, language, sexual orientation, gender identity, socioeconomic status, and disability or special needs status. We mean it when we say all students need and deserve a supportive, safe, and productive environment that celebrates diversity as our strength. Fulfilling my first year serving the board to the #1 school in the state that I graduated from, that my child and my nieces and nephews have and do attend, has me so humbled and truly thankful to everyone who has collaborated with me in any way as one of your new board members this year, including me, inviting me, asking my participation, calling or emailing me with feedback, constructive feedback, concerns, and recognizing that representation matters when some of our students identify with someone like me has been an honor, because we all want the best schools for our students, which also means we want the best employment for our staff and teachers, creating healthy communities. I know I do my best to show up for all of us in this seat, and that I wholly respect and I do not take for granted, because this is our collective seat. Again, CUSD proudly seeks to produce global citizens through our Portrait of a Learner initiative. Our vision is to prepare graduates for success in the global community and thrive as responsible and ethical citizens. To me, this does mean that we simply cannot ignore the fact that we are living through an ongoing traumatic humanitarian crisis that, as we witnessed this evening, is no doubt impacting many in our CUSD community, including friends of mine and families who have personally reached out to me. To be clear, seeking to ensure no impacted student goes unseen is not controversial. To our impacted CUSD teachers and staff, I repeat, please take care of yourselves and your families over the upcoming break. We want you as whole as can be for your families, our students, and campus communities. To all those impacted, again, know that I see you, I hear you, and weep with many of you because I am human, I'm a mom, and I see you in me and me in you, in that sketch that I carry with me every day. I continue to wholly stand with all of you and hope for humanity. And I will continue to dedicate my life's work to advancing children's lives, including forcibly displaced and refugee children and families, knowing that all children deserve protection, safety, and freedom to grow, learn, and experience life. Please do not hesitate to contact our Counseling and Social Services Department for any support or resources you may need. Tonight, we had the pleasure of meeting and hearing from our invested Director of Counseling and Social Services. Let us confront this historic crisis together and genuinely reject any sentiments of hate and harassment on all grounds. I wish everyone peace and hope upon this holiday season with my warmest wishes, and we'll see the public next year in 2024.
All right, thank you. I have just a couple of things, and we can get out of here. First thing is I need you guys to sign this paperwork about the budget stuff. Second thing, wanted to point out that everybody has their own political beliefs, and we come and do this work here. And that doesn't mean that we get to quit, caring about people or having those political beliefs, but we have to kind of check that at the door, and Patty has been good at not representing herself as representing Chandler when she goes out and does the good work that she does. That's her 100% going out and doing it. So thank you very much for what you do in the community, Patty. With that, I think we're all done here. Have a good night, guys.